Chapter 1172. Yixian had come to Black Chaotic Corner for two reasons. First, to investigate the siblings' case, and second, to see if the mastermind behind this was related to the Yin-Yang ancestor. The Heavenly Thunder Hall had many disciples training here. They had also sent many new disciples to investigate, all for the reward of 100,000 inner demon pills. Thus, this mission was practically an independent investigation with very few clues being shared with others. Yixian did not need any clues, as it was more convenient for him to investigate on his own. The underworld's branches were spread throughout the world. However, one would not be able to find this branch without some connections. There were countless vicious people in Black Chaotic Corner. Their killing auras were not weak at all, making it very difficult to distinguish who was an assassin. That black-clothed assassin from before was not from Black Chaotic Corner, and he did not know where the Black Chaotic Corner branch was located. However, one should not forget that Yixian had the eye of control. Ding! Control successful. Yixian entered the city. With a casual glare, he controlled a passerby at the second level of the Nether Passage realm. Master! This unlucky fellow who was controlled by Yixian respectfully greeted him. Do you know where the underworld branch of Black Chaotic Corner is located? Yixian asked. I don't know, but I know someone who should be able to lead you there. This unlucky passerby shook his head. All right, lead the way. Yixian answered. Then, this unlucky passerby led Yixian in search of someone. Along the way, Yixian found out that the person he was looking for was a 4th-level Nether Passage realm law enforcer of the Phantom Gang. Very quickly, Yixian arrived in front of a manor. All right, you can go. Yixian said to this unlucky passerby. There were many servants in the manor, some of whom were at the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd levels of the Nether Passage realm. However, the strongest was at the 4th level. In Black Chaotic Corner, Yixian did not dare to directly knock on the door. Thus he could only pay a visit. Sir, is something the matter? When Yixian approached, a 1st-level Nether Passage realm martial practitioner guarding the door asked. I have some matters to discuss with Law Enforcer Yao. Please inform him. Yixian went straight to the point. Protector Yao is currently resting and is not receiving guests. He knew that Protector Yao had been injured in a battle some time ago, and was currently recuperating. Although he felt that Yixian had a strong background, he would be in trouble if Protector Yao was angered by his sudden interruption. That's not up to you. Yixian's eyes flickered as he took control of him. Master, please. After being controlled, this martial artist's hostility instantly dissipated, and he respectfully led Yixian into the Yao manor. Shortly after, this cultivator led Yixian to Protector Yao. Zhou Huarong, who is this? A tall and sturdy man suddenly blocked Yixian's way. They're only at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm, but these people from the Phantom Gang specialize in soul attacks and defense. My eye of control might not succeed immediately. Once it fails, I might end up provoking the entire Phantom Gang. After pondering for a moment, Yixian decided to give up and said, I want to ask Protector Yao about the location of the Underworld's branch. I see. I know. Give me 1,000 inner demon pills and I'll tell you, the tall and sturdy man said. All right. Yixian didn't say anything else. He directly took out 1,000 inner demon pills and tossed it over. Straightforward. The Underworld's branch of the Black Chaotic Corner is under the Drunken Poplar restaurant. Enter the secret code KILL. The tall and sturdy man said. Secret code KILL? Yixian muttered in his heart. He immediately turned around and left. He thought to himself, isn't it too easy to earn money? 1,000 inner demon pills with just one sentence. However, the things he obtained from the 2 controllers alone were worth more than 1,000 inner demon pills. It didn't matter. Zhou Huarong, come find me after you send this friend away. The tall and sturdy man shouted. Yes. The martial artist called Zhou Huarong nodded. Yixian left Protector Yao's residence and headed straight for the Drunken Poplar restaurant. After Zhou Huarong sent Yixian away, she turned around and went to find the tall and sturdy man. Protector Yao ordered that no one is to be brought in. You dare to disobey the order? Are you a traitor? When the burly man saw Zhou Huarong, he took a big stride forward and grabbed Zhou Huarong's throat. No, no. Zhou Huarong opened her mouth with difficulty. Her face was filled with horror. Protector Yao was seriously injured by a sneak attack a few days ago. I suspected that there was a traitor in the residence. You brought people in this time. Could it be that you want to attack Protector Yao again? The tall and sturdy man clenched his fists and opened his eyes wide. He looked like he wanted to eat someone. No, there is. Zhou Huarong still shook her head. I'll give you 3 seconds. Tell me who your accomplice is. Otherwise die. The tall and sturdy man ignored her answer and shouted angrily. I didn't. Rip. A crisp sound was heard. A head was thrown up and blood splattered on the wall. The burly man killed Zhou Huarong with a single chop of his hand. He showed no mercy at all. Even if you don't say it, I can find out. The tall and sturdy man snorted. Just after Zhou Huarong's death, a door behind the burly man opened, and a slightly weak old man walked out from inside. Protector Yao. The tall and sturdy man hurriedly greeted him. The traitor finally couldn't sit still. Unfortunately, he's a tough man. Protector Yao said as he walked over and picked up Zhou Huarong's interspatial ring. He guessed that there might be some clues in this interspatial ring. He wanted to know who wanted to kill him. After checking for a moment, he shook his head helplessly. There's no clue. Did you send someone to follow that kid? Yes. The tall and sturdy man nodded. Very good. Report to me as soon as you find a clue. Protector Yao nodded and turned around to return to his room to continue healing his injuries. However, the moment he turned around, there was the sound of wind. Whoosh whoosh. The tall and sturdy man suddenly attacked. With a chop, he directly stabbed Protector Yao's left chest. Puff. The large hand sank into Protector Yao's body and touched his beating heart. You? Protector Yao's eyes widened. However, before he could finish speaking, he heard a poochie sound. His heart had been crushed. He did not expect that he would be killed by the person he trusted the most. One had to know that he was the one who raised the tall and sturdy man. Although they were not related by blood, he was equivalent to a father. He did not expect that the tall and sturdy man was actually the traitor. Just now it was just a show to make him reveal a flaw. I'm sorry, Protector Yao. Your head is worth 30,000 inner demon pills. With these, I can break through to the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. The tall and sturdy man grinned and hurriedly put away Protector Yao and Zhou Huarong's bodies. Then he cleaned up the scene. Protector Yao's death could be completely pushed to the young man just now. This young man was Yixian. Chapter 1173. Dead? Yixian was a little surprised, his brows furrowed. He sensed that the person who had brought him into Enforcer Yao's residence had been killed. How long had it been? Less than a minute. Yixian's eyes flickered. He suddenly sensed that 2 people were following him, both of them at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm. It seemed that he had been targeted. Although we're in the city, it's not like there haven't been killings on the streets of Black Chaos Corner. It's better to be careful, lest we get ambushed. Yixian only reminded himself, then suddenly leaped into the air. Ding! Control successful. Ding! Control successful. 2 system notifications rang out, and the 2 people following him were instantly controlled by him. You 2 are from Enforcer Yao's residence, right? Why are you following me? Yixian asked with a frown. A few days ago, Enforcer Yao was ambushed and heavily injured, so Lord Xiong sent us to follow you, thinking that you were also here to ambush Enforcer Yao. One of them answered. Lord Xiong, is it that brawny man from before? Yixian raised his eyebrows. So he had been misunderstood. Since that was the case, then he couldn't be bothered to go back for revenge. It was better to investigate the Drunken Poplar restaurant first. After taking the items in the 2 people's universe rings, he continued on his way. Soon he found the Drunken Poplar restaurant. The Drunken Poplar restaurant looked very ordinary, but Yixian used his eye of perception to sense it, and found that there were many crouching tigers and hidden dragons inside. There were many experts eating inside. At the same time, there was a hidden formation in a corner that led to the underground. It seems that Lord Xiong wasn't speaking nonsense. This Drunken Poplar restaurant is indeed a branch of the underworld. Yixian thought in his heart as he stepped into the Drunken Yang restaurant. Immediately, a 9th level Wanxiang realm waiter came forward to greet him. Sir, do you want to have a meal or stay in the restaurant? The waiter asked with a smile. Kill. Yixian muttered. The waiter immediately understood. "Sir, this way please." Then the waiter led Yixian to the corner with the array. The waiter thought that Yixian was a frequent visitor, so he didn't ask any questions and let Yixian leave. Below the Drunken Poplar restaurant was a branch of the underworld. Here one could accept and issue missions. Before Yixian came in, he wouldn't be able to sense the aura below due to the superior concealment of the formation. Only after Yixian went down did he realize that this was a place with many crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Quite a few of them at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, and even some at the 6th level. Yixian raised an eyebrow, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. With his current strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to deal with someone at the 5th level of Nether Passage realm. However, he wouldn't be able to handle several of them at once, let alone someone at the 6th level of Nether Passage realm. However, he was not worried because he was only here to investigate. "Sir, you don't look familiar. Is this your first time here?" An attendant from Hell stepped forward to greet them. "Yes." Yixian turned his head and glanced at him, then immediately restrained the attendant at the 2nd level of Nether Passage realm. Normally, when entering the underworld, regardless of whether they accepted or issued a mission, they would have to hide their identity. Yixian, on the other hand, showed his true appearance. Of course, it could also be a disguise. "Sir, are you here to issue a mission? Or to accept a mission as an assassin?" Although the attendant was restrained, he put on an act so as not to expose himself. "Let me see the list of missions," Yixian said. Then the attendant took out a booklet and handed it to Yixian. It had to be said that the number of missions in this underworld branch was explosively high. There were at least 10,000 of them. One had to know that almost all of the missions in the underworld were missions to kill people. This meant that there were at least 10,000 people on the bounty list. Yixian copied the entire booklet, then skimmed through it. "There are more than 200 missions to capture siblings?" Yixian shuddered. The targets of these 200 missions were all blood-related siblings. Moreover, their age difference was less than a year, and they were all at least at the 9th level of Nether Passage realm. Originally, there were still those at the 1st level of the Manifestation realm. However, these missions were too easy to complete, so they had all been snatched up. These missions are not issued by the same person, but they all have information on these siblings. As long as the underworld assassins find them and capture them, it's considered a mission. Yixian noticed this. There was definitely something fishy that required so many pairs of siblings. Anyone could guess. These rewards added up to more than 4 million inner demon pills. This was enough to create a martial artist at the 7th level of Nether Passage realm. Previously, Yixian had guessed that the Yinyang Temple had captured the siblings and brought them back to nurture them. Now it didn't seem like it. That was because the Yinyang Temple could just casually send anyone down. If they had this information, they could just do it themselves. Why ask the underworld for help? Of course, it wasn't impossible. Perhaps the Yinyang Temple's demand was too high, so they issued the missions layer by layer. After capturing the target, they would send it up layer by layer. If that was the case, it would be an astronomical figure. He just didn't know which was the case. However, no matter what, Yixian had to investigate thoroughly because this was his purpose in coming to the Glazed Light Sacred Land. "Can I take this mission list with me?" Yixian turned and asked. "Yes, it's all about killing and capturing people. As long as you complete it, you can bring the token to turn in the mission." The attendant nodded. There were as many mission lists as one wanted. As for the token he spoke of, if it was to kill someone, then it would be a corpse. If it was to capture someone, then it would naturally be to bring the person. However, Yixian's purpose in coming here wasn't to accept or issue missions, but to investigate. At this moment, 3 figures suddenly entered the underworld branch. Among the 3, one of them was dressed in black, wearing a bamboo hat and a face scarf to hide his identity. He held 2 chains in his hands. These 2 chains bound a man and a woman behind him. Someone's here to complete the mission. Yixian's eyes lit up. He could sense that this assassin was in the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm, while the man and woman behind him were in the 1st level of the Nether Passage realm. "No, don't hand us over to the underworld. I beg you, we'll gather the 15,000 inner demon pills. Please let us go." The brother and sister pair begged for mercy, but the black-clothed assassin holding them didn't budge at all. What a joke. How could an assassin be merciful? "Buddy, turn in the mission." The black-clothed assassin lowered his voice. An attendant of the underworld walked up to him. After checking the mission list, he said, Mission number 173, Brother and Sister Zhu Xingqiang and Zhu Xinglin. Reward, 15,000 inner demon pills. However, identity needs to be verified. No problem. Chapter 1174. It was possible to disguise one's appearance, but there were some things that couldn't be changed. There were still many ways to verify one's identity, such as the mole on one's butt. However, before the two were taken away, Yixian used the Eye of Control to control them. This way, he would be able to sense the two siblings under his control. When the time came, he would be able to know whose hands the siblings were handed over to. My luck is not bad. Yixian grinned and pretended to look at the mission list in the underworld's branch. Soon, that attendant came out and brought out 15,000 inner demon pills as a reward for the black-clothed assassin. Sir, your mission is complete. There are some new missions recently. Do you need a list of missions? Asked that attendant. Give me one. The black-clothed assassin nodded. Then he left the underworld's branch with the new mission list. Capturing a pair of siblings at the first layer of the Nether Passage realm, and a reward of 15,000 inner demon pills. This is too easy to earn. It's no wonder that assassins have changed their profession to become human traffickers. Yixian licked his lips. If Ling Xiao and Ling Yu knew about this, they would probably be very sad. After all, they were at the second layer of the Nether Passage realm, and the two of them only received 20,000 inner demon pills as a reward. It should be known that they were core disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. The underworld in this area probably didn't want to provoke the Heavenly Thunder Hall, so they purposely pocketed some of the rewards. The siblings are starting to move. At this moment, Yixian suddenly raised his eyebrows. There was a back door in this underworld's branch. However, it was used by the underworld's internal personnel. The pair of siblings that were captured earlier were sent away from this back door. Yixian immediately left the underworld's branch and began tracking the siblings based on his senses. The siblings were escorted into a carriage, and Yixian followed behind it. 10 minutes later, the carriage stopped in front of a large mansion. The Ethereal Palace? Yixian raised his eyebrows. He had heard that the Ethereal Palace was the residence of the Phantom Gang's leader. Could it be that the one who issued the mission was the Phantom Gang's leader? At this time, the two people in the carriage were escorted to the Ethereal Palace. The gang leader of the Phantom Gang is at least at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm, and there are countless experts in the manor. It would be very unwise to recklessly go in and investigate. Yixian shook his head and prepared to return to the underworld to wait. He wanted to see if his master had captured any new siblings. He felt that this matter was not that simple, because this carriage was too ostentatious. It was most likely not some secret. However, at this moment someone suddenly walked towards Yixian. 5th level of the Nether Passage realm? Yixian's heart trembled, and he prepared to take a detour. Halt! A loud shout made Yixian stop in his tracks. An old man dressed in black walked over and said, "What are you doing sneaking around outside the Ethereal Palace?" Hearing this, Yixian's expression darkened. He wanted to use his previous method to avoid this tribulation, or perhaps use his identity as a core disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall to cover it up. He turned, looking at this unfamiliar black-clothed old man. "I am a core disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. I have come here to investigate the case of those siblings in the underworld." The Heavenly Thunder Hall again. When did the Heavenly Thunder Hall become so nosy? This black-clothed old man was very displeased as he prepared to chase Yixian away. However, at this moment, his brows suddenly raised as a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. "Isn't this brat the one the Profound Water Thunder WRM clan wanted me to take note of?" The black-clothed old man was shocked. He had just received news that the Profound Water Thunder WRM clan wanted him to take note of a person. This person was precisely Yixian. "I heard that the first dragonized descendant of the Profound Water Thunder WRM clan was killed by someone. Then they wanted me to search through my memories to confirm if this really happened. TSK, this brat really sent himself to me." The black-clothed old man cracked a smile. He was that person who was proficient in soul techniques that the Profound Water Thunder WRM clan's Grand Elder had spoken of. Originally, the matter of capturing people was to be done by the assassins of the underworld. However, since he had encountered it, then he would do it for him. When the time came, all he had to do was extort a sum of money. However, this black-clothed old man's gaze was caught by Yi Xian. This old fellow, he knows me? Yi Xian's mind trembled. His intuition told him that this black-clothed old man did not come with good intentions. Brat, I do know one or two elders of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Let's forget about this matter. You can go. The black-clothed old man suddenly said. Let me go? Yi Xian was very surprised. Although the Phantom Gang was one of the three great powers of the Black Chaotic Corner, and this black-clothed old man was an elder of the Phantom Gang, there would not be any problems in making a move within the city. However, the matter of the Profound Water Thunder Devouring clan requesting the black-clothed old man could not be too conspicuous. Thus he had to be captured in secret. That's right. You can go. Don't come again. This matter is not something you can manage. The black-clothed old man nodded. Since that is so, then farewell. Yi Xian cupped his fists, preparing to turn and leave. However, before he had finished speaking, someone suddenly exclaimed in shock. It's him! Oh! Yi Xian and the black-clothed old man turned, discovering three people walking towards them. These three were all wearing the uniform of the Phantom Gang. The three of you recognize him? The black-clothed old man's eyes flickered as he asked. Elder He, Guardian Yao was assassinated in his own manner. Lord Xiao asked me to spread the portrait around. The person in the lead retrieved a portrait from his Qian Kuan ring. This portrait just so happened to be that of Yi Xian. These words frightened Yi Xian. What did Guardian Yao's death have to do with him? However, he instantly reacted. He had been framed, and the one who had framed him was probably that Lord Xiao. Not good. Yi Xian's expression changed greatly as he immediately turned around. How dare you kill a guardian of the Phantom Gang? You must have a death wish. The black-clothed old man shouted. He had been looking for an opportunity to capture Yi Xian earlier, but now he had a legitimate excuse to do so. The moment Yi Xian turned around, two rays of light shot out from the black-clothed old man's eyes. These two rays of light entered Yi Xian's eyes. Soul attack? Yi Xian's body trembled. The members of the Phantom Gang specialized in soul attacks and soul defense. They were extremely difficult to deal with. Humph, you are not qualified to use a soul attack in front of me. Yi Xian's eyes also released a ray of golden light. Brilliant eye. As long as one's eyes were covered, the other party would not be able to use a soul attack. However, even if Yi Xian closed his eyes, his combat power would not be reduced in the slightest. Have a taste of mine. The corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Burning eye. Forbidden eye of illusion. What? This kid knows how to use it too? The black-clothed old man was slightly surprised, and his face twitched violently. This was because Yi Xian was unaffected by the attack just now. The strength of his soul was not ordinary. However, he was affected by Yi Xian's two soul attacks. Chapter 1175. I didn't want to cause a ruckus, but now don't blame me. Yi Xian's face turned gloomy. He held the Skyquake sword in his hand tightly and formed a huge golden sword. Overlord's limitless sword. Boom! The golden sword fell to the ground. The old man in black's shoulder bones cracked. Fortunately, he was prepared. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured. However, the three members of the Phantom Gang behind him were not so lucky. All of their bones were shattered and they died on the spot. Kid, how dare you kill the members of the Phantom Gang? You're courting death. The old man in black could no longer sit still. Since the soul attack was useless, he would use force. Wei Zhentian Thunder Pearl go. Yi Xian threw out two magic treasures. At the same time, he formed a heavenly thunder battle halberd. Humph, sword manipulation is useless against me. The old man in black snorted and used his manifestation force to push Wei Zhentian and the Thunder Pearl away. Heavenly Thunder territory. Yi Xian stabbed the Heavenly Thunder battle halberd into the ground. Suddenly lightning flashed and countless electric snakes shot out. However, most of them were blocked by the old man in black. In terms of combat power, Yi Xian was definitely stronger than the old man in black. However, he was fighting at the entrance of the Phantom Gang. Therefore he had to end this quickly. While the old man in black was distracted, Wei Zhentian and the Thunder Pearl quickly transformed. Wei Zhentian transformed into a god of war and slashed his sword at the old man in black. The Thunder Pearl also extended countless spikes, preparing to explode the old man's head. "Kid, you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. Get lost." The old man in black shook his body. A powerful manifestation force sent Wei Zhentian and the Thunder Pearl flying again. However, at this moment, "You're finished." The corners of Yi Xian's mouth slightly curled up. In an instant, the Thunder Pearl spat out a strand of heavenly lightning that condensed into a thunder attribute flying dragon. Thunder Dragon Roar. The thunder flying dragon opened its bloody maw and spat out a mouthful of dragon breath. What? The old man in black did not expect the Thunder Pearl to have such a transformation. He had been careless. Now he would pay the price for his carelessness. ZZ. Boom. A huge pillar of heavenly thunder descended, drowning the old man in black. This roar of the Thunder Dragon was one of Yi Xian's trump cards. Its power was extraordinary. Yi Xian reckoned that the black-clothed old man was dead meat. "Bastard, stop. How dare you kill Elder He? You're courting death. Stop him." Suddenly, a series of shouts rang out. Within the range of Yi Xian's senses, the experts of the Phantom Gang were charging at him. All three of them were at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. "Since you've mobilized so many experts, I can't let you down." Yi Xian formed a claw with his left hand and began to swipe out rapidly. Zhuo Qinglong's 8 stances. At the same time, a figure appeared behind him. Luoluo. Luoluo had already broken through to the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm thanks to the planting space. Seeing that there was a battle, she giggled and summoned her 100-fold fox doppelganger. "Hold them back," Yi Xian said to Luoluo. "No problem, young master," Luoluo said confidently. The black-clothed old man was still somewhat capable. He was able to withstand the Thunder Dragon's roar, but he couldn't do anything other than defend. But Yi Xian could. "I'll send you to the afterlife with this attack." A silver slash tore through the air. The black-clothed old man, who was resisting the Thunder Dragon's roar, was beheaded in an instant. Then, the Thunder Dragon's roar electrocuted him into a charred corpse. A 5th-level Nether Passage realm expert was dead. Although he had used his trump card, he had to act quickly because he was causing trouble in front of someone else's home. After the black-clothed old man died, Yi Xian swiftly rushed over and took the old man's interspatial ring. There were many things in the interspatial ring, many of which could improve one's soul. Yi Xian benefited from this. Ding! Wei Zhentian broke through. A system notification rang out. After Yi Xian devoured the ores and weapons in the interspatial ring, Wei Zhentian leveled up and reached the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. Now that the black-clothed old man was dead, Yi Xian's gaze fell on the 3 elders of the Phantom Gang. 3 5th-level Nether Passage realm experts. "So what? Let's fight," Yi Xian roared loudly. This time he wanted to use this opportunity to break through to the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. In addition to the 3 elders, there were many 3rd and 4th level Nether Passage realm experts in the Netherworld. Yi Xian and Luoluo could use them to delay the situation. "I have control." Yi Xian started to control them, allowing them to sneak attack the 4th level Nether Passage realm Phantom Sect protectors beside him. "Young master, let me do it," Luoluo suddenly said in his mind. In the next instant, Yi Xian saw a pink eyeball form above Luoluo's head. The Eye of Enchantment. Before, Luoluo had used the Eye of Enchantment to increase the strength of Yi Xian's soul. Today was the first time she used it against others. "What the hell is that?" "A fox. That little fox belongs to the Fox clan. Be careful of her charm dash." Bang! Not good. Someone's been charmed. In the blink of an eye, dozens of people had been charmed by the Eye of Enchantment and attacked the sober experts of the Phantom Gang. Holy shit! Mass enchantment? Yi Xian was shocked. The Eye of Enchantment was indeed powerful. It had charmed so many people in one move. "Kill that little fox." One of the Phantom Gang elders roared angrily. The 3 of them all charged at Luoluo. "Humph! You dare to touch the young master with just the 3 of you?" Luoluo looked at them with disdain. Her 6 tails unfurled behind her. With a wave of her slender hand, 7 flames floated in front of her chest. Then the 7 flames suddenly merged into one, forming a 7-colored lotus flower. Luo Luo threw the 7-colored fire lotus at the Phantom Gang Elder in the middle. The Phantom Gang Elder's face was gloomy as he dodged with difficulty. He could feel that the 7-colored fire lotus contained a lot of energy. If he was hit by it, there would be nothing left of him. But at this moment, the 7-colored demonic flame suddenly bloomed when it brushed past the Phantom Gang Elder's shoulder. 7-colored demonic flame, 7 consecutive explosions. A powerful aura instantly spread out, causing everyone to tremble. Boom! 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 There were a total of 7 explosions, and the sounds were so continuous that they almost merged into one. The cultivators who were watching from afar couldn't help but tremble. This move was too cool. This move was Luolua's new skill. It looked very cool and its power was beyond imagination. After the 7 explosions, the Phantom Gang Elder was blasted into smithereens, leaving behind only a pile of broken limbs. Not only that, the other 2 elders were also affected and were seriously injured. Young Master, it's your turn. Chapter 1176. Yi Xian also recovered from his shock, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. While he was shocked by the power of Luo Luo's move, he didn't just stand there and watch. The Thunder Pearl had already flown over. Tisk tsk tsk. Another big explosion. Yi Xian's expression darkened and his eyes flashed. Thunder Pearl. Heavenly lightning annihilation. The Thunder Pearl also released a dazzling light. Lightning flashed and it temporarily blinded those with lower realms. However, the Thunder Pearl wasn't a flash bomb. Its power wasn't any weaker than Luo Luo's move. Rumble. Another loud rumble resounded in the sky. The 2 elders of the Phantom Gang who had been heavily injured by Luo Luo both died. Haha, what Phantom Gang? So weak. Yi Xian was very disdainful in his heart. He quickly flew towards the 3 corpses. These were the interspatial rings of 3 5th-level nether passage experts. If he gathered all the items together, he might be able to break through to the 4th level of the nether passage realm. At that time, who would be a match for him? However, at this moment, "Brat, how dare you kill my men? You're courting death." Suddenly, a loud roar resounded, and at the same time it entered Yi Xian's ears. The leader of the Phantom Gang, Phantom. When Yi Xian entered the chaotic black corner, he had heard of the leader of the Phantom Gang. This person was proficient in soul attacks, and he was best at illusions. As long as he glared at you, you might not wake up even if your limbs were chopped off. Therefore, the leader of the Phantom Gang could be said to be the most difficult of the 3 gang leaders to deal with. However, this was useless against Yi Xian. Phantom Eye penetrate. The leader of the Phantom Gang's eyes flickered. He actually managed to penetrate Yi Xian's brilliant helmet, causing Yi Xian to fall into an illusion. This strength was several times stronger than that of the black-robed elder. In an instant, Yi Xian's surroundings changed dramatically. At this moment he was on an isolated island. This isolated island was very small, and he could see the other end with a single glance. In the ocean beside the isolated island was a huge and terrifying sea beast. These sea beasts had the ability to swallow this isolated island in one gulp. This soul attack was the strongest one Yi Xian had ever encountered. However, one shouldn't forget that Yi Xian's bloodline. TCH, I have another nickname, the Terminator of Illusions. Yi Xian coldly snorted and instantly broke through the illusions around him. The huge sea beast that opened its bloody mouth and was about to swallow the island was also instantly destroyed. What? You broke my illusions in one shot? This is impossible. Yu Huan couldn't believe it. Even the leader of the Wild Dragon Gang, Tai Long, or the leader of the Righteous Yang Gang, Frivolous Scholar, couldn't break the illusions in such a short time, let alone Yi Xian, a brat at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm. While Yu Huan was still in shock, Yi Xian had already thrown the 3 corpses into the planting space. At the same time, he devoured everything in the universe ring. Ding! The thunder orb has broken through. The system notified. Unfortunately, Yi Xian himself couldn't break through. He knew that he was still a little short, so he used all the ores and divine weapons on the thunder orb. The thunder orb didn't have a co-growth contract with him, so Yi Xian didn't devour it. Instead, he used all the ores and divine weapons on the thunder orb, spending a lot of super devour crystals. He spent a lot of ores and divine weapons. If Yixian devoured them himself, his cultivation would improve. However, the Thunder Orb's power would increase greatly from the 3rd level to the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. After all, it was immortal. Under such circumstances, it was much more useful to strengthen the Thunder Orb than to increase his own strength. Leader of the Dark Illusion Gang. As long as I kill you, I can break through to the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. Yixian's fighting spirit soared. His entire body was boiling with excitement. Who was the leader of the Dark Illusion Gang? He was one of the 3 gang leaders of the Black Chaos Corner. He was extremely powerful and had tens of thousands of gang members, all of whom were Nether Passage realm experts. However, Yixian wasn't afraid of him. At this moment, Yixian still had one more trump card. 10,000 ancestral swords. Wei Zhentian come. Yixian was already prepared to fight to the death with Yu Huan. However, at this moment, another figure suddenly appeared from the horizon. Kid, I'm here to help you. A familiar voice rang out and entered Yixian's ears. He turned around and saw a familiar person with a powerful aura rushing toward him. Elder Ling Yao? Yixian couldn't help but exclaim in shock. This Elder Ling Yao was the forging master who had helped him forge the Thunder Orb artifact. He couldn't understand why Elder Ling Yao would appear in the Black Chaos Corner. Yu Huan, how bold of you to dare capture this old man's grandchildren. Hand over your life. Elder Ling Yao roared furiously as he charged towards Yu Huan. Hearing this, Yixian finally understood why Elder Ling Yao was here. So it was because he was that Heavenly Thunder Hall elder whose grandchildren had been captured. He was the one who had offered the reward of 100,000 inner devil pills. With the help of a 5th-level Nether Passage Heavenly Thunder Hall elder like Ling Yao, Yixian's confidence suddenly exploded. He suddenly changed his mind, no longer using 10,000 ancestral swords. Wei Zhentian Thunder Orb go. Yixian immediately had Wei Zhentian lock onto Yu Huan. 10,000 ancestral swords was a trump card because there were still a few people in the city who could threaten him, such as the chief of the Wild Dragon Gang, the chief of the Righteous Yang Gang, the chief of the Frivolous Scholar, and the chief of the Underworld Branch. Of course, the one he was most wary of was that Mo Shui who came and went without a trace, able to escape death every single time. A mere 3rd-level Nether Passage martial artist dares to commit such atrocities in front of me? Die! Yu Huan directly ignored the heaven-shocking sword and Thunder Orb, suddenly transforming into a streak of light as he shot towards Yixian. Although Yixian had killed a few 5th-level Nether Passage elders, Yu Huan knew that Yixian had used his trump card. Since it was a trump card, it shouldn't be used so easily. However, as he shot towards Yixian, a 7-colored lotus suddenly floated over. 7-colored demonic fire, 7 consecutive explosions. Boom! 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 7 more explosions resounded. Fortunately, Yu Huan had long since been prepared for this. Added on to the fact that his cultivation base was higher at the peak of the 6th level of the Nether Passage stage, he was about to break through into the Nether Passage stage. After Luolua's attack, he was completely unscathed. However, at this moment, the sound of air splitting resounded from the side. Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd. Heavenly Thunder Explosion. Rumble. Yet another explosion resounded. The entire main city of Black Chaos Corner was already in an uproar as over 10,000 spectators had gathered around. Meanwhile, Yu Huan had been injured by the Heavenly Thunder explosion right in front of so many people. How formidable! Elder Ling Yao's strength is probably unrivaled amongst 5th-level Nether Passage martial artists. He is much more powerful than that person I just killed. Yixian could not help but sigh emotionally to himself. The Heavenly Thunder Hall was no ordinary power. The reason Elder Ling Yao had been able to become an elder was not because he was a member of the Ling family, but because of his strength. Chapter 1177. Old man, you're courting death. Yu Huan glared at Elder Ling Yao, preparing to use Yu Huan's eye on him. However, Elder Ling Yao suddenly closed his eyes. Soul attacks usually had to pass through the eyes. As long as one closed their eyes, it would be difficult to be hit. Fortunately, a martial artist would possess a spiritual sense after reaching the manifestation realm. Although the speed of the spiritual sense was slower than the eyes, it could still be used in battle. So what if I close my eyes? Yu Huan snorted and used his spiritual sense on the people behind Elder Ling Yao. In an instant, a few martialists launched attacks at Elder Ling Yao's back. Yu Huan had made these people fall for his illusions, and Elder Ling Yao was their enemy. Humph, you're quite capable. Scram! Elder Ling Yao snorted. With a wave of his hand, these people were sent flying. What a joke. He was at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. How could these martial artists at the 2nd or 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm be his match? However, Yu Huan reminded Yixian and Luoluo. Try this, sect leader Yu Huan. Luoluo suddenly laughed. In the next instant, the Phantom Gang members surrounding the Phantom Gang's gang leader started to attack him. Humph, a bunch of trash. Go to hell. Yu Huan did not care that these people used to be his subordinates. He threw a few palm strikes and smashed them into pieces. What a bastard. He even killed his own people. Yixian was shocked. However, these people were already under Luoluo's control. If he did not kill them, it would only be more troublesome. At this moment, he was thinking to himself and Elder Ling Yao to hold Yu Huan back while Luoluo collected the interspatial rings. As long as he collected enough interspatial rings, he would be able to break through to the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. At that time it would be easy to deal with Yu Huan. However, right at this moment, an aura that was not any weaker than phantoms suddenly appeared. As soon as he appeared, Elder Ling Yao, who was about to attack Yu Huan, could not help but stop. The sect leader of the Wild Dragon Gang, Tai Long? Elder Ling Yao's eyes narrowed as he muttered. Yu Huan was also very surprised. He asked, Tai Long, why are you here? The newcomer was a bald man. This person was none other than the leader of the Wild Dragon Gang, one of the 3 great gangs of the Black Chaotic Horn, Tai Long. His cultivation level had also reached the peak of the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. His strength was not much weaker than Yu Huan's. You made such a big move, how could I not come and take a look? Tai Long said with a grin. Although she said that, Spectral Illusion felt that Iron Dragon was not here with good intentions. It was very likely that he was here to take advantage of the situation. The death of 4 5th level Nether Passage realm elders in the Dark Illusion Manor had greatly reduced the strength of the Dark Illusion Gang. If the Wild Dragon Gang were to attack at this time, the Dark Illusion Gang would be in danger. Tai Long, don't think that I don't know what you're thinking. Do you think that my phantom is easy to bully? Even if I die, you won't have it easy either. Phantom used a threatening tone to remind Tai Long not to act rashly. As for Yixian and Ling Yao, he could deal with them himself. TSK, I already knew about that matter of yours. Originally, I didn't want to say it, but now that they've come knocking on my door, if I don't take advantage of them, wouldn't I be letting down those brothers you killed? Tai Long suddenly took out a broad-backed machete. This time the Dark Illusion Gang had discovered an accident, so he wanted to add insult to injury. As long as he could use this opportunity to eliminate the Dark Illusion Gang, there would only be 2 of the 3 major forces left in the Black Chaotic Corner. If the world was divided into 3, it would become a 2-legged tripod. Then, the Dark Illusion Gang's territory and manpower would be divided between the Wild Dragon Gang and the Righteous Sun Gang. Wild Dragon, it seems that you're determined to interfere. If that's the case, then come. Spectral Illusion was also prepared to fight to the death. He glared at the crowd angrily. Too late. Just in case I found a helper. Tai Long carried the broad-backed machete in his hand on his shoulder and said slowly, Helper? Spectral Illusion's expression changed when he heard this. A figure suddenly appeared in his mind. Helper? Could it be? Yu Huan cried out in surprise, but before he could say the name, a person rushed over. It was a scholarly young man dressed in white with a crown on his head. However, his appearance made Spectral Illusion's heart tremble violently. His twitching face fell into everyone's eyes. This scholarly young man was the leader of the Righteous Sun Gang, one of the 3 major gangs in the Black Chaotic Corner. Frivolous Scholar. Frivolous Scholar, you're late. Tai Long looked at the young man and said. The scholarly young man smiled awkwardly and said, Sorry, I was just helping the little sister next door write a couplet, so I was a little late. It was hard to imagine that this scholarly young man, who looked only a few years older than Yixian, was the leader of the Righteous Sun Gang. Frivolous Scholar. The Black Chaotic Corner was a place where good and bad people mixed together. However, in the main city of the Black Chaotic Corner, There was one person who was highly praised, and that was Frivolous Scholar. The Righteous Sun Gang was different from the other two major gangs. This gang would not bully others with their power. The gang members were also a group of virtuous martial artists. It was rare for them to kill others for their treasures. To put it simply, the Black Chaotic Corner was where it was today because of the Righteous Sun Gang. If it were not for the Righteous Sun Gang, people would be killed on the streets at any time. The Black Chaotic Corner would not have such good order. Frivolous Scholar, it really is you. You're working with Tai Long? Spectral Illusion could not believe it. Frivolous Scholar had been neutral since the Black Chaotic Corner was established. Only the Spectral Gang and the Wild Dragon Gang were locked in a fierce battle. But now, Frivolous Scholar wanted to interfere? Gang leader Spectral Illusion, you spent millions of inner demon pills to capture so many pairs of siblings. Your actions have inadvertently offended many people. Frivolous Scholar said to Spectral Illusion, those missions were not issued by me. I was only entrusted by someone to imprison these people. Spectral Illusion hurriedly replied. He knew that this was the reason why Frivolous Scholar had appeared. Now, everyone knew that after the mission to capture the siblings was completed, the siblings would be sent to the Nether Palace. Naturally, they would think that Spectral Illusion was the mastermind behind this mission. If they thought about it more deeply, why did Spectral Illusion not use so many inner demon pills on cultivation? If that was the case, Spectral Illusion would have broken through to the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm long ago. You don't have to explain. You must be cultivating a demonic art. Otherwise, why would you use so many inner demon pills to capture people? Tai Long snorted coldly. As soon as he said this, the eyes of the surrounding people lit up. Yes, he was cultivating a demonic art. Otherwise, why would he capture so many people? Moreover, they were all siblings. When demonic arts were mentioned, the surrounding people would think of Frivolous Scholar. This was because Frivolous Scholar hated people who cultivated demonic arts the most. Chapter 1178. I didn't. Spectral Shadow's expression darkened as he defended himself. These people are all alive and well. Every half a month there would be an expert bringing them away. I didn't use them to cultivate in my demonic arts. Expert? Who? The Frivolous Scholar frowned. If Spectral Shadow was speaking the truth, then the mastermind behind the scenes was cultivating in his demonic arts. I'm not sure. They are all highly skilled in disguise and are much stronger than I am. Spectral Shadow shook his head. That's just your lie. Apart from the Heavenly Thunder Hall, who else would be stronger than you? Come here. Iron Dragon snorted coldly, disbelief written all over his face. Still, he had forgotten that a fulfillment realm expert had once descended here. While this was a remote place, experts had still appeared here before. There was no concrete evidence for Spectral Shadow's words. Still, everyone already knew that he had accepted those siblings. As for whether those siblings were still alive, no one knew. Of course, even if they were, it was possible that Spectral Shadow had reached a bottleneck in his cultivation of his demonic arts, and was temporarily unable to use them. In any case, Spectral Shadow was done for today no matter what. Frivolous Scholar, let's not waste words. The Spectral Gang is notorious in the Black Chaotic Corner. Let's cripple them first. Iron Dragon gripped his broadsword tightly as he turned and said to the Frivolous Scholar, all right. The Frivolous Scholar felt the same as well as he drew out a 3-foot-long sword from his spatial ring. No, you must believe me. Those siblings are locked in a prison deep within the Ethereal Palace. Spectral Shadow panicked as he hurriedly defended himself. Facing two experts at once, he had no confidence at all. If it was just Iron Dragon, he would be able to deal with them. However, now that even the Frivolous Scholar had come, he was done for. Because the Frivolous Scholar was so powerful, his spectral eye was ineffective against him. Originally, the Frivolous Scholar had thought that Spectral Shadow had cultivated in a demonic art. Now, however, he suddenly changed his mind. The Spectral Gang had the worst reputation amongst the three great gangs. There was a need to change the atmosphere of the Black Chaotic Corner. Kill. Tai Long was determined to annihilate the Phantom Gang. Naturally, he would not allow Phantom to escape. He immediately rushed to the back and sealed off Phantom's path of retreat. Now it was impossible for the Phantom to escape. There was a wolf in front, a tiger behind, and two venomous snakes, Yixian and Lingyao, eyeing him covetously from both sides. You dare to touch me? You're all dead. Yu Huan was flustered and exasperated. He knew that he was done for, but he didn't want to die, so he could only use threats, hoping to make Frivolous Scholar and Tai Long retreat. Iron Dragon might be afraid because of this, but the Frivolous Scholar was impossible. No matter what kind of backer you have, today will be the day of your Phantom Gang's destruction. After the Frivolous Scholar finished speaking, he immediately attacked. On the other side, Tai Long was the same. Looking at the three figures in front of him, Yi Xian revealed a helpless expression. Originally, this phantom was his target, but now two people had suddenly appeared. His kill had actually been stolen. His intuition told him that it was best not to get involved in this battle. It was better for him to find trouble with some of the Phantom Gang's protectors and elders. Yi Xian, let's not do anything. Let's go. At this time, Elder Ling Yao suddenly said. His purpose in coming to Black Chaos Corner was to find his grandson and granddaughter who had been captured. Just now, Yu Huan said that those people were locked in a prison deep within the netherworld, so he immediately rushed over. Yi Xian nodded silently. After glancing at the three people fighting in the air, he collected the spoils along the way and killed his way into the netherworld. At this time, on top of a tall tower in the distance, a man in black clothes looked around. Damn it, this Phantom Gang is really trash. The man shouted in a low voice. Gang Master, should we help? Suddenly, a middle-aged man flashed to his side and asked. If the Frivolous Scholar hadn't attacked, we could have helped, but this Frivolous Scholar. The man in black clothes showed a wary expression. Gang Master, why are you so wary of this Frivolous Scholar? The middle-aged man asked in puzzlement. Humph. The man in black snorted and said. Do you know that the Fulfillment Realm expert who came to Black Chaos Corner before is related to this Frivolous Scholar? What? The middle-aged man was shocked. The Frivolous Scholar was related to a Fulfillment Realm expert? Now, he finally understood why the gang master of the Black Chaos Corner Underworld branch was so afraid of this Frivolous Scholar. That's right, this black-clothed man was the gang master of the Black Chaos Corner Underworld branch. He was at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. He was also the one who issued the mission to capture the siblings. However, he wasn't the one who spent the Heart Demon pill. Someone else was the one who received the mission. The two of them quietly looked at the three figures fighting in the sky above the netherworld. In the end, they decided to give up on helping. They could only swallow this broken tooth themselves. In the sky above the netherworld. Tai Long, Frivolous Scholar, stop. They're already out. Yu Huan hurriedly shouted. He saw that Elder Ling Yao had already rescued them. This should be enough to prove his innocence, but Tai Long and the Frivolous Scholar still didn't stop. Yu Huan, we're determined to destroy your Yu Huan gang today. Give up resisting. Tai Long shouted as he attacked. Don't worry, I won't take your life. You can find a place to spend your old age in peace. Tai Long, **ck your mother. Yu Huan couldn't help but curse when he heard this. How could he not know that Tai Long wanted to cripple his cultivation? A martial artist's cultivation was their second life. If it was crippled, then what was the point of living? What was the purpose of martial artists' cultivation? Wasn't it to pursue a higher realm? If Yu Huan's cultivation was crippled, he might as well kill himself. Wah, I'll fight you to the death. Yu Huan's entire person suddenly turned sinister. Black true energy surged out of his body and circled around him. He hadn't touched the captured siblings, but he had lied when he said that he didn't cultivate demonic arts. The cultivation method of demonic arts was different from ordinary ones. Some required sucking human blood, some required eating human flesh, and even brain matter, bone marrow, and so on. It was extremely cruel. Therefore, when the surrounding people found out that the captured siblings were sent to the netherworld, they all guessed that Yu Huan cultivated demonic arts. Yu Huan, you really do cultivate demonic arts. Frivolous Scholar's gaze turned cold. Before Yu Huan finished using his technique, he gathered true energy in his throat and shouted, "Break!" A sound wave attack spread out, but the surrounding people didn't react at all. This was because this move was specifically targeted at those who cultivated demonic arts. Buzz. Chapter 1179. No, this is impossible. Yu Huan was shocked. He had cultivated a demonic art for several decades. Yet it was destroyed by a single word from the frivolous scholar. How was this possible? When Tai Long saw this, he was also shocked. This frivolous scholar was no ordinary person. He thought to himself, who exactly was this frivolous scholar? Yu Huan, I'm going to shatter your demonic veins now. As the frivolous scholar finished speaking, another sound wave entered Yu Huan's body. Then a series of muffled sounds rang out. The meridians in Yu Huan's body that were nurtured by demonic qi began to shatter inch by inch. Yu Huan's true energy leaked out, and his cultivation began to fall. 5th level of the Nether Passage Realm. 4th level of the Nether Passage Realm. 3rd level of the Nether Passage Realm. 2nd level of the Nether Passage Realm. In the blink of an eye, Yu Huan was only left with the 2nd level of the Nether Passage Realm. Before this, he was at the peak of the 6th level and was about to break through to the 7th level. The difference was due to the demonic art he cultivated. Now that his demonic veins were shattered, his cultivation fell as well. No, impossible. Frivolous scholar, who are you? Yu Huan couldn't believe it. The frivolous scholar had only opened his mouth twice to shatter all the demonic veins in his body. It was impossible for someone with this kind of ability to only be at the 6th level of the Nether Passage Realm. The frivolous scholar didn't answer Yu Huan's question. Instead, he put away his sword and said indifferently, who I am is not important. What's important is that the demonic veins in your body have all been shattered. You should obediently surrender. Yu Huan was currently only at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage Realm. Even a 4th level Nether Passage Realm protector would have the ability to kill him. Tai Long immediately turned into a ray of light and captured Yu Huan in an instant. I can't accept this, I can't accept this. Yu Huan have actually fallen to such a state. I can't accept this. Yu Huan roared at the sky. Although the 2nd level of the Nether Passage Realm was only 4 levels away from the 6th level, some people couldn't reach it even if they cultivate it for their entire life. Fortunately, his meridians weren't completely destroyed, so in comparison, even if he cultivated again, his cultivation speed would be much faster than ordinary people. As long as he had time, he could cultivate to the 6th level of the Nether Passage Realm again. At this time, in the depths of the ethereal palace, while Yu Huan, Tai Long, and frivolous scholar were fighting, Yixian and Ling Yao rushed in. Sure enough, they found the imprisoned 100 pairs of siblings in a courtyard. That frivolous scholar with the 2-word demonic breaching vein is too terrifying. Just what is his background? Yixian was also shocked. However, he could tell that if Spectral had not exposed himself, the frivolous scholar would not have been able to do this. To put it simply, Phantom was courting death. However, Elder Ling Yao still managed to find his grandson and granddaughter in the prison below. In this prison, there were 100 pairs of siblings, which added up to more than 200 people. Moreover, this was a recent capture. My lord, please save us. Someone suddenly knelt down and said, Sir, please save us. We will definitely be captured again. Right. Sir, please accept us into the Heavenly Thunder Hall. A group of people begged bitterly. These people did not have much of a background. It was already not easy for them to be able to cultivate to such a level. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Thunder Hall just so happened to be a life-saving straw. Therefore, they wanted to follow them there. This? Elder Ling Yao frowned, feeling rather troubled. If so many people were to go to the Heavenly Thunder Hall, it would be a very large expenditure. Still, these people's talents were not bad as well. Therefore, after careful calculation, it should not be a loss. Alright, you guys wait here. When this is over, I will escort you back. Elder Ling Yao finally agreed. After all, his grandson and granddaughter were involved in this as well. The ones who had captured these siblings previously were only at the 2nd or 3rd level of the Nether Passage Realm. Now that they were escorted by Elder Ling Yao, who even dared to battle Yu Huan, who would dare come looking for trouble? Thank you, my lord. The group knelt down in thanks. Now the 3 people in the distance shot them a glance before Iron Dragon asked, Yu Huan, how many pairs of siblings did you kill in order to cultivate such a devilish art? My devilish art does not require siblings like them. I only cultivate purely by absorbing essence blood. I do not have so many requirements, Yu Huan replied, his face pale. Oh? This means that what you said earlier was true? Iron Dragon did not dare to believe it. That's right. Everything I said was true. In another 3 days those bigwigs will come to Black Chaos Corner and take these siblings away. If you dare to let them go now, you will be making an enemy out of them. Yu Huan suddenly revealed an expression of schadenfreude. There was not a single lie in what he had said earlier. Therefore, this Iron Dragon and the frivolous scholar had really gotten themselves into big trouble. Hearing Yu Huan's confirmation, Iron Dragon's expression changed greatly. Yu Huan was at the peak of the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. His aura was stronger, being at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. And what Yu Huan meant was that there was more than one 7th level Nether Passage realm martial artist. Iron Dragon's strength was slightly weaker than Yu Huan's. Therefore, he had gotten himself into big trouble. Humph. Since it has come to this, there is no room for negotiation. Iron Dragon am not a joke. Iron Dragon snorted coldly as the broadsword in his hand flashed. That's right. The frivolous scholar nodded. However, he did not take Yu Huan seriously. He was not afraid at all. Then the matter came to an end. The winner takes all. Since I, Yu Huan, have lost, Black Chaos Corner will be yours from now on. Yu Huan was very magnanimous. However, this was something that could not be helped. Was he supposed to fight Iron Dragon, who was at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm, with his strength at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm? What a joke! Therefore, he could only watch as the Wild Dragon Gang and the Righteous Yang Gang divided up the Dark Illusions brothers and territory. Not only that, but there was also Yu Huan's interspatial ring. The two of you, this interspatial ring is yours. At this moment, the frivolous scholar suddenly threw Yu Huan's interspatial ring to Yi Xian. This was the interspatial ring of the gang leader of the Dark Illusion Gang. Yu Huan was suspicious by nature. Therefore, he did not hide the interspatial ring and kept it in his interspatial ring. Seeing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. He hastily caught the interspatial ring. Yu Huan had been trying to break through to the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm, so there were not many things in the interspatial ring. However, it was enough for Yi Xian to break through. The moment Yi Xian caught the interspatial ring, he moved all the good things in the interspatial ring into his devouring space, and threw them to Elder Ling Yao. On the surface he did not do anything, but in reality he had already gotten a lot of things. Chapter 1180. Many thanks, Elder Ling Yao. Hearing this, Yi Xian expressed his thanks as well. Still, he was unaware of Elder Ling Yao's wishful thinking. He had just become famous in a single battle, slaying 4 5th-level ethereal opening elders of the Phantom Gang, as a 3rd-level ethereal opening martial artist. Such strength was not something that just anyone could possess. If he were to mature in the future, he would become the #1 expert of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Thus, Elder Ling Yao was trying to curry favor with Yi Xian in advance. Elder Ling Yao, I'll send some people to escort you back, the frivolous scholar suddenly said. All right, many thanks then. Elder Ling Yao expressed his gratitude. There were more than 200 people here. If he was the only one here, it would be a little troublesome. This chief of the Righteous Yang Gang, the frivolous scholar, was rather trustworthy. I'll help as well, Yi Xian said. He had obtained many benefits this time as well. As long as he devoured what he had obtained from the Phantom Universe Ring, breaking through to the 4th level of the ethereal opening stage would definitely not be an issue. At that time, even without using his trump cards, he would be able to clash with the Phantom Gang. Escorting them back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall would not be a problem at all. All right. Elder Ling Yao nodded. He suddenly felt like hurrying Yi Xian back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall, wanting to see the expressions of those experts after hearing of Yi Xian's battle achievements. Afterwards, the Righteous Yang Gang and the Wild Dragon Gang split up the Phantom Gang on the spot. From today onwards, there would no longer be a Phantom Gang in the Black Chaotic Corner. Elder Ling Yao, my 3 brothers are all at the 6th level of the ethereal opening stage. They will escort you back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Just at this time, the frivolous scholar suddenly said to Ling Yao, 3 at the 6th level of the ethereal opening stage? Hearing those words, the people present were all shocked. How could the Righteous Yang Gang be so powerful? It had to be known that the Phantom Gang was only at the 6th level of the ethereal opening stage himself, and he was the only one in the Phantom Gang. Still, why did the Righteous Yang Gang have 3 at the 6th level of the ethereal opening stage? If the frivolous scholar was added on, wouldn't that be 4? Frivolous scholar, you? Hearing this, Iron Dragon did not really dare to believe it either. Why didn't the righteous Yang Gang, which had 4 6th-level Nether Passage Realm martial artists, swallow up the Mad Dragon Gang and unify the Black Chaos Corner? Haha, don't worry, I'm not that ambitious. I'm all about balance. The frivolous scholar laughed. At this moment 3 figures flew over. They were all scholars in white robes. So young? Everyone was shocked. Not only that, but even Yixian was the same. He hadn't sensed anything before, but now that these 3 had appeared, he immediately released his aura. They were indeed at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. The most important thing was that these 3 people were in their early 20s, and one of them might not even be 20 yet. Isn't he too young? How did he reach the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm? It shouldn't be from the Heavenly Thunder Hall? Only the Heavenly Thunder Hall possesses such an expert. No, that can't be. The auras of these 3 people are very similar to Frivolous Scholar. They should be from the same sect. The surrounding people were all speculating. Elder Ling Yao was also extremely shocked. He had thought that the Heavenly Thunder Hall was already very powerful. Now, 3 experts with talents that surpassed the disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall had suddenly appeared. This was simply inconceivable. Northern Heavens Academy. Frivolous Scholar, you're a disciple of the Northern Heavens Academy? Elder Ling Yao cried out in shock. Haha, I never thought that Elder Ling Yao would know of the Northern Heavens Academy. The Frivolous Scholar was slightly surprised, but didn't deny it. The Northern Heavens Academy. I've only heard of it. Because no disciple of the Northern Heavens Academy has ever appeared. Outsiders also don't know of its location. Elder Ling Yao said slowly. The Frivolous Scholar nodded. That's right. Previously, my Northern Heavens Academy had always been secretly accepting disciples, focusing on studying diligently. Now the academy has already been opened. It's just that the news has yet to spread. Now Elder Ling Yao understood. No wonder the Frivolous Scholar didn't place the background of the mysterious world in his eyes. It was because he was a disciple of the Northern Heavens Academy. The scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy are full of righteousness, the nemesis of the evil Tao. No wonder you could so easily break through. A helpless expression appeared on Elder Ling Yao's face. Don't underestimate him just because he was an elder of the Heavenly Thunder Hall at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. However, there were 4 disciples of the Northern Heavens Academy in front of him, all of whom were stronger than him. To be honest, my aptitude is already considered poor. My 3 junior apprentice brothers all far surpass me. The Frivolous Scholar sighed slightly. He was already nearing his 30s, and was only at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. However, the 3 junior apprentice brothers behind him were all around 20 years old, and had already reached the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. This was completely incomparable. Hearing these words, one of the scholars hurriedly said, Senior apprentice brother, you're too modest. You've already cultivated the upright Yang scripture to the 3rd stage. Even evil Tao experts at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm might be killed by you. As these words rang out, the bodies of everyone present shook. Holy shit, a 6th level of the Nether Passage realm killing a 9th level of the Nether Passage realm? Yixian was extremely shocked. Just now, he had felt that this Frivolous Scholar's background wasn't small. Now it was indeed so. There was probably a fulfillment realm expert within the Northern Heavens Academy. Junior apprentice brother overpraises me. Since you've come to my place, I'll impart to you what I've learnt. I can guarantee that you'll be able to cultivate the upright Yang scripture to the 3rd stage within 3 years. The Frivolous Scholar laughed. Many thanks, senior apprentice brother. Hearing these words, the eyes of the 3 scholars lit up. Even within the entire Northern Heavens Academy, there weren't many people who were able to cultivate the upright Yang scripture to the 3rd stage. Amongst them, the Frivolous Scholar's realm was the lowest. However, he had the deepest understanding of the upright Yang scripture. Okay, you 3 escort them to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. The Frivolous Scholar said. Yes. The 3 scholars nodded in response. Elder Ling Yao also felt relieved. At the same time, he also had thoughts of forming a good relationship with these 3 people. After all, the other party's background was the Northern Heavens Academy. With them escorting them, who would dare to come? Many thanks, let's go. Elder Lingyao cupped his fists towards the frivolous scholar. Shortly after, he soared into the sky and left. Seeing this, the captured siblings hastily followed. This time they were lucky. Not only were they safe, they even managed to join the Heavenly Thunder Hall. It could be considered as a blessing in disguise. As for Yixian, after shooting a glance at the frivolous scholar, he followed behind the large group. Very quickly, this large group left the chaotic black corner. Looking at their departing figures, Spectral didn't know what to say. This time he had been utterly defeated. He never thought that the frivolous scholar would have such a great background. Even those experts who had entrusted people to be imprisoned here wouldn't dare to provoke the frivolous scholar. Spectral, you should leave as well. The frivolous scholar said to Spectral. Farewell. Chapter 1181. Although Spectral's cultivation had dropped to the second level of the Nether Passage stage, it wouldn't be that easy to take him down even if there were people at the third, fourth or even fifth level. However, he still had to be careful. After all, the Spectral gang had caused quite a lot of trouble and had made quite a few enemies. Now that he had lost his protection, it would be difficult for him to fight against so many. After Spectral left, the leader of the Wild Dragon gang, Tai Long, said in shock, Frivolous scholar, then we... Don't worry, I'm a scholar. I don't have much ambition. As long as you don't become the second Spectral, it's fine. The frivolous scholar replied, then continued, Ladies and gentlemen, my Northern Heavens Academy is now open. If there's anyone interested, you can go to the Zhouhua city in the northeast of the chaotic black corner. My Northern Heavens Academy's recruitment point is there. My Northern Heavens Academy doesn't have a cultivation requirement. As long as you have good conduct, you'll be fine. Of course, you still need to pass some tests. In the past, the Northern Heavens Academy had closed its doors to recruit students. Therefore, its influence wasn't that great. Anyone who entered the Northern Heavens Academy would bitterly cultivate within. After thousands of years, there were even some people who had forgotten about the Northern Heavens Academy. Now that the Northern Heavens Academy had reopened, it was a good thing for some people. However, for those who cultivated demonic arts and committed heinous acts, it was a nightmare. At this moment, on a tower in the distance, Sect Master, this frivolous scholar is actually someone from the Northern Heavens Academy. The middle-aged man said in shock. You don't have to worry. Although you cultivate demonic arts, as long as you don't reveal it, this frivolous scholar won't know. The black-clothed man reminded. Although he said that, the middle-aged man was still extremely afraid. This frivolous scholar was an existence that could even kill a 9th-level Nether Passage stage expert. Sect Master, what should we do now? The middle-aged man asked. With so many siblings released, they had lost over 1 million inner demon pills. It was too much of a loss. I can only accept this loss unless... Before the black-clothed man finished speaking, a figure shot towards him. Chao Zhixing, what's going on? Another black-clothed man appeared. However, the aura on his body wasn't any weaker than the sect master of the chaotic black corner underworld branch, Chao Zhixing. You've come at the right time. Those siblings have been released, and the person who saved them is a disciple of the Northern Heavens Academy. What do you think we should do now? The underworld branch sect master then recounted what he had just seen and heard. Humph, this Yuhuan is incompetent. Damn it, send someone to kill him. The black-clothed man gave a cold snort and said, I never thought that there would actually be a scholar in the black chaotic corner. So what if it's the Northern Heavens Academy? Anyone who goes against the underworld will not have a good ending. Then what are you going to do? The underworld branch sect master inquired. Send the message and refresh these missions. The man in black replied coldly. Refresh these missions? After the underworld branch sect leader heard this, he swallowed his saliva. That was millions of inner demon pills. Moreover, with so many siblings gathered together, it would probably cause quite a commotion. Why did you capture these people? The underworld's branch sect leader couldn't help but ask. You don't have the right to know. You didn't do your job well this time. Come with me. The black-robed man said to the underworld branch sect leader. Do we really want to become enemies with the Northern Heavens Academy? Chao Zhixing still asked. What Northern Heavens Academy? In the underworld there are even rebirth stage assassins. What is there to be afraid of with a mere Northern Heavens Academy? The black-clothed man was extremely disdainful. Very quickly the two began to move. At this moment, Yixian had already followed the large group and left Elder Lingyao. Not only that, there were also many disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall who had come to the Black Chaotic Corner. Thus they also joined in and escorted the large group back. Ling Mutian and the others were among them. Ling Mutian was at the 4th level of the Nether Passage stage, but he could only barely deal with the 5th level of the Nether Passage stage. After seeing Yixian kill 4 5th level Nether Passage stage experts in succession, he no longer dared to look at Yixian. Yixian's aptitude was already top-notch in the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Even Ling Zhantian couldn't do this when he was at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage stage. Along the way, the 3 scholars had been following them. However, they were discussing academic matters in low voices. There are also poems and such in this world. If I were to use the poems from my previous life, would it cause a commotion? Such a thought suddenly appeared in Yixian's mind. However, now wasn't the time to be so calculative, because he had a feeling that things weren't so simple. The value of these siblings is at least 1,000,000 inner demon pills. If the underworld refreshes a new mission, it will definitely attract many assassins. Yixian thought to himself. Previously, the frivolous scholar had revealed his background in order to make the escorting a little safer. However, people would die for wealth and birds would die for food. There would definitely be many people watching. Although he could use the Eye of the Void to directly send these people back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall, the Eye of the Void was his escape ability. How could he expose it just like that? If it was exposed, there would be people who could set a trap for him in the future. At that time, he would be in deep trouble. The realms of these siblings were low, so their speed was very slow. At the very least, it would take 3 to 4 days. Very quickly, a day's time had passed. During this day, there weren't any unusual movements. Yixian's skills had also refreshed their cooldowns. Adding that he had already broken through to the 4th level of the Nether Passage stage, he could even fight against 7th level Nether Passage stage opponents, and even kill them. However, just as they had been traveling for 2 days, Yixian's expression changed. He could feel people approaching and there were quite a few of them. Elder Lingyao, there are 100 people approaching us. Yixian hurriedly reminded. As these words were spoken, Elder Lingyao's expression turned solemn. His realm was higher than Yixian's. Although he didn't know how Yixian had discovered it, it was clearly true. Humph, it should be those assassins from the underworld. A scholar put away the book in his hand and took out a long sword. The other 2 people did the same. Although they were scholars from the Northern Heavens Academy, that didn't mean that they didn't kill. Since these assassins dared to find trouble with them, they were courting death. Seeing Lingyao, Yixian, and the others stop, the 100 pairs of siblings also revealed astonished expressions. Everyone, don't be afraid. Elder Lingyao is powerful, and there are 3 geniuses from the Northern Heavens Academy. We'll be fine. Right. The Northern Heavens Academy is very powerful. We'll definitely be fine. Humph. These assassins are after us. It's best if they all die. Those people were discussing in low voices. Very quickly, a large group of people appeared before everyone's eyes. Chapter 1182. 3 7th level ethereal opening stage? Yixian's brows twitched as he couldn't help but shudder. Without mentioning the 100 assassins at the 3rd level of the ethereal opening stage and above, just these 3 7th level ethereal opening stage were enough to make him suffer. Other than these 3 7th level ethereal opening stage assassins, there were 6 6th level ethereal opening stage, and a dozen 5th level ethereal opening stage assassins. This lineup had frightened Yixian. Looks like I'll have to fight to the death this time. Yixian felt a little helpless in his heart. However, he wasn't afraid. Even if he couldn't win, wouldn't he be able to escape? If this went smoothly, he might be able to break through to the 5th level of the ethereal opening stage. Who are you? At this moment, a scholar shot over and shouted loudly. Don't you know who we are? The black-clothed leader of the assassins held a sword as he sneered. What guts, you actually dare to find trouble with us? The scholar coldly snorted. I know that you're scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy. However, in the eyes of the underworld, your Northern Heavens Academy isn't worth mentioning. If you're tactful, hand over those siblings to us. That way I can spare your lives. The black-clothed leader said. 3 people. The three scholars glanced at each other. This meant that the black-clothed man didn't plan to spare Yixian, Ling Yao and the rest of the Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples. However, this was still acceptable. After all, if not for Yixian and Ling Yao, how could such a thing have happened? With just the three of you? The leading scholar had a fearless look on his face. Who were they? They were the elites of the Northern Heavens Academy. Even if they were to challenge someone of a higher rank, it wouldn't be a problem for the three of them to restrain the 3 7th-level ethereal opening stage assassins. From the looks of it, you really want to fight with us. I'll say the ugly words first. Don't think that I'll show mercy just because you're scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy. In the eyes of the underworld, the Northern Heavens Academy is nothing. The black-clothed man kindly reminded them. Yixian, we can hold these three back. The rest will depend on you and Elder Ling Yao, the leading scholar said to Yixian. No problem. As long as you guys can hold off those three, I can handle the rest. Yixian said confidently. Previously, he had been worried that the three of them would only be able to hold back 1 or 2 assassins at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. Now that he saw how confident they were, he let out a sigh of relief. But don't forget, Yixian also had a lot of trump cards. Although there was a huge disparity in strength between the two sides, they could still fight. For a moment, both sides were in a deadlock. Everyone, let's do it. If anyone dares to hurt those siblings, don't blame me for being merciless. The leader of the black-clothed men shouted in a low voice. There was a good chance that one of these siblings was someone that the higher-ups of hell were looking for. If any of them were to be harmed, then even 10,000 lives wouldn't be enough. This group of assassins was also hired. This was the first time they had been hired by their peers. However, the reward for this mission was extremely generous. Moreover, it seemed that they had the upper hand in this situation. This was a complete bargain. Under the command of the leader of the black-clothed men, the two sides finally started fighting. Junior brothers, form the tripartite sword formation. The leader of the scholars shouted. Yes, the other two answered. The tripartite sword formation was a sword formation that could be used by 3 people. Even if they were only at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm, they could easily deal with 3 at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. These 3 people's mission was to hold back the 3 7th-level Nether Passage realm assassins. As for the others, they would leave them to Yixian. Those at the 3rd and 4th level of the Nether Passage realm were easy to deal with, but those 6 at the 6th level and a dozen at the 5th level were troublesome. There aren't enough mutant beasts in the planting space. If we use them all up now, their reproduction speed will greatly decrease. Yixian thought for a moment, then let Luoluo out. Although Luoluo hadn't broken through to the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm yet, she wasn't far from it. When Yixian sensed this group of assassins, he immediately informed Luoluo. Bewitching Eye. As soon as Luoluo appeared, she used her ultimate move. A pink eyeball appeared on top of her head. Careful, close your eyes. Someone from the assassin's side immediately shouted. However, there were still some who reacted too slowly. Those at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm were all bewitched, and even those at the 4th level fell for it. In an instant, the assassin group was reduced by half, and internal strife broke out. The Fox Charm clan is truly terrifying. That was what everyone thought. In the blink of an eye, half of the assassins had turned traitor. The assassin group hadn't even charged when internal strife broke out. That little fox is in the way. Kill him. Several 6th-level Nether Passage realm assassins set their sights on Luoluo, but she had a powerful protector. You want to touch my people? Have you asked for my permission? Yixian was furious. He immediately sent out Wei Zhentian and the Thunder Pearl. There were still many experts ahead. If he rashly used his ultimate move, it would be blocked by them, so he couldn't let it go to waste. However, he still had one move he could use right now. Brilliant golden armor. Tyrannical Emperor's boundless sword. A giant golden sword appeared and slashed at the newcomers. Too slow. The assassins quickly dodged. They thought that the golden sword was only used for attacking. Bang! The golden sword fell to the ground. They joined forces and attacked Yixian. However, at this moment, a sudden impact from above caused their bodies to tremble violently. Crack! Some of them had gathered their true chi and 10,000 mammoth strength on their feet to increase their speed. However, their defenses were weaker, and the tyrannical emperor's boundless sword shattered their bones. 6 5th-level Nether Passage experts had been killed in an instant, and 1 6th-level Nether Passage expert had been heavily injured. Ha ha ha, don't think that I'm still the same 3rd-level Nether Passage realm expert from back then. Yi Xian laughed loudly in his heart. Breaking through was difficult for others, but for him it was fine as long as he had enough resources. Back then, he had caused a huge ruckus and killed 4 5th-level Nether Passage realm experts in succession. He had even fought with Yu Huan a few times. Today, he was at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. His strength had skyrocketed many times over. These assassins were not well informed as they had been caught off guard by him. As long as he killed these assassins, he might be able to break through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. At that time, he would join forces with the 3 scholars and kill off the remaining 3 7th-level Nether Passage realm experts. This was his plan. On the other side, the Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples and those 100 siblings were also using the power of 10,000 mammoths to battle. While their cultivation bases were low, with the power of 10,000 mammoths condensed together, it was still not an issue for them to contend against some 5th-level Nether Passage realm experts. However, Yi Xian had overlooked something. An old acquaintance of his had mixed into this group of assassins. With so many of them together earlier, their auras had been too chaotic. As a result, even Yi Xian had not discovered him. Very quickly, this person approached Yi Xian. Chapter 1183. Brat, how have you been? A familiar voice entered Yi Xian's ears. Yi Xian turned to look and his face twitched. Emo Shui. This guy had actually mixed in with the team and tried to assassinate him. Before Emo Shui could attack, Yi Xian sent out a nirvanic slash, but Emo Shui dodged it. Currently, Emo Shui was at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. Damn, as expected of a reincarnator. He actually caught up to my level in just a few days. Yi Xian cursed in his heart. It seemed that he was in trouble this time. Fortunately, he still had a few trump cards. Since Emo Shui had mixed in with the team, he might as well kill him as well. But just as he was about to attack again, Emo Shui suddenly laughed dryly and said, Brat, don't be in a hurry to attack. I'm here to cooperate with you this time. Cooperate? This sentence frightened Yi Xian. Emo Shui, instead of assassinating him now, was actually here to cooperate with him? What kind of joke was this? This time there might be an 8th-level Nether Passage realm assassin. You won't be able to stop him no matter what. So before he comes, I'll cooperate with you and kill everyone. Emo Shui said in a low voice. You're really here to cooperate with me? Yi Xian found it hard to believe. He had fought with Emo Shui several times, and it was already a battle to the death. But today, Emo Shui was actually here to cooperate with him. This was a bit unbelievable. However, if what Emo Shui said was true, then the consequences would be severe. There was no one present who could stop an expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. Cooperate? What do you need? Yi Xian asked subconsciously. But at this moment a gust of wind blew. Brat die. A 6th-level Nether Passage realm assassin rushed over and attacked Yi Xian. Hindrance. Without waiting for Yi Xian to attack, Emo Shui attacked first. He stabbed out with his sword, and a flame dragon rushed toward the 6th-level Nether Passage realm assassin. What? This expert at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm was devoured in the blink of an eye, not even leaving behind a corpse. Damn it, so strong. Yi Xian breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, he estimated that he only had a 30% chance of winning against Emo Shui. After all, Emo Shui was in the same realm as him, at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. The reason why Emo Shui had escaped that day was because he didn't have enough true chi after using the unparalleled Flame Dragon Slash. If Emo Shui was still his enemy, not to mention whether that expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm had really come, the current situation would be difficult to grasp. It was very likely that they would all be wiped out. Let's work together. I'll help you kill a 7th level Nether Passage realm martial artist. Once we're done, I only want these siblings. Emo Shui immediately laid out his terms. But before he could finish speaking, Yi Xian's expression changed and he said, No. Don't worry, I don't want all of them. I'm too lazy to take the lives of these ants. As long as there are the 2 people I'm looking for, I only want them. Emo Shui hurriedly explained. The two you're looking for? Yi Xian's mind shuddered. The underworld was looking for people, and Emo Shui was also looking for people. Who exactly was he looking for? Brat, do you still need to hesitate? I'll only give you 3 breaths of time. After 3 breaths, if you don't agree, you should know the consequences. Emo Shui urged. Yi Xian quickly thought about it. Who Emo Shui was looking for had nothing to do with him. He only wanted Emo Shui's life. However, if that expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm appeared, then Elder Ling Yao and the Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples would be in danger. No, even if that expert didn't appear, they would probably be in trouble. After all, there was still Emo Shui. Alright, let's work together this time. Yi Xian immediately agreed. Although he said that he would still continue to be on guard against Emo Shui. After all, the other was also an assassin. Assassins would do anything to complete their missions. Straightforward. After Emo Shui gave a low shout, he turned into a streak of light and shot towards the 3 7th level Nether Passage realm experts. These 3 7th level Nether Passage realm experts were being held back by the 3 scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy. Emo Shui's strength was very strong. If he joined the battle, the situation would be one-sided. Peerless Flame Dragon Slash. An orange light shone from Emo Shui's hand as he ruthlessly stabbed towards one of the 3. The person he was targeting was the head of the Black Chaotic Corner Underworld branch, Chao Zhiping. He thought that Emo Shui had come to help, but he didn't expect him to be a traitor. Rumble. The flame dragon instantly engulfed Chao Zhiping. However, Chao Zhiping was still at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. He didn't die, but he was still heavily injured. You have some ability. The corner of Emo Shui's mouth slightly raised. Challenging someone 3 levels above him, just thinking about it made him excited. The other 3 scholars originally wanted to attack Emo Shui, but when they saw Emo Shui attacking Chao Zhiping, they suddenly restrained themselves. What's going on? Is there an internal conflict? The leading scholar was very confused, but he immediately reacted. This Emo Shui was very likely charmed by the little fox that suddenly appeared. 2 junior brothers put in more effort and kill them. The leading scholar shouted. Yes. At this time in the distance, Yi Xian was on guard while fighting with the others. Originally, he wanted to use his trump card to kill everyone. But after hearing Emo Shui's words, he restrained himself. If an 8th level Nether Passage realm expert came, he would need to have a trump card to fight against them. Fortunately, this battle wasn't too difficult, because Luo Luo had charmed several dozen people. Adding on the fact that he had the Eye of Control, his opponent's true battle prowess was only at the 5th and 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. Left Azure Dragon Claw's 8 powers. Heavenly Thunder Halberd. Yi Xian continuously attacked. With the bloodline of the Divine Tree of Life, his true chi was completely able to withstand this consumption. Rumble. At this time a loud sound came from the horizon. Everyone looked over and saw a headless corpse floating in the air. An assassin at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm had been killed. The situation had changed. Kid, it's up to you now. I have to check these people. Emo Shui used a secret technique to whisper in Yi Xian's ear, then shot toward the 100 pairs of siblings. Although this Emo Shui is only at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm, he's a reincarnator. If he attacks, these siblings will die in an instant. Yi Xian's heart was also fluttering, but he had agreed to cooperate with Emo Shui. As long as Emo Shui kept his promise, he wouldn't attack Emo Shui. Fortunately, his worries were unnecessary. Emo Shui rushed into the crowd at lightning speed and began to check. Chapter 1184. What is he doing? Yi Xian frowned as he recalled Emo Shui's words. He knew that Emo Shui was looking for someone, but he didn't know what kind of person. While he was pondering, Emo Shui actually checked all of them. Among the 100 pairs of siblings, there was no one he was looking for. Brat, it was a pleasure working with you. I won't take advantage of you today. The next time I see you, it will be your death date. After Emo Shui said this, he turned around and left. From beginning to end, he had only killed 2 people. One was that unlucky 6th level Nether Passage realm cultivator, and the other was Chao Zhiping, the leader of a branch of the underworld. Motherf ***, those old monsters who have lived for thousands of years are all crazy. Yi Xian couldn't help but curse in his heart. However, in this situation he didn't have time to deal with Mo Shui. He had to deal with him as soon as possible. On the assassin's side, the leader of the black-clothed men had an extremely gloomy expression after Chao Zhiping's death. Originally, the three of them had the upper hand against the three scholars. However, after Chao Zhiping's death, they were at a disadvantage. This wasn't the main point. The main point was that half of their people had betrayed them. Those 5th and 6th level Nether Passage Realm cultivators were no match for Yi Xian. If they continued to fight, they would definitely be the ones to lose. Damn it, why aren't they here yet? The leader of the black-clothed men cursed. Just in case, he had notified a super expert. However, this super expert was late. Let's go. The black-clothed man shouted and turned to run. Junior brothers, stop him. Remember, don't let the tiger return to the mountain. The leading scholar shouted. Humph, if I want to escape, you can't stop me. The black-clothed man was very disdainful and quickly distanced himself from the three scholars. However, the other assassin was entangled by the three scholars. Don't go, let's fight together. The other assassin hurriedly shouted. However, the black-clothed man ignored him and turned to leave. It had to be said that the black-clothed man had become the leader's bait. F***ck your mother. The unlucky assassin roared at the sky. Although his realm was higher than the three scholars, they were the elites of the Northern Heavens Academy. Furthermore, they had even displayed a sword array. In just 3 moves he was defeated. Tripartite sun-piercing. Shio. 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 3 cold gleams flashed as 3 long swords pierced into the body of the unlucky assassin. His heart was pierced by the 3 long swords, and he died instantly. The outcome of this battle had already been decided. At this moment, there were only 3 experts at the 6th level of the Nether Passage Realm and 4 experts at the 5th level of the Nether Passage Realm left. As for the others, they were either controlled by Luoluo or killed. The situation was very clear. However, right at this moment, how dare you? Suddenly, a roar came from the sky and fell into everyone's ears. When the escaping assassin in black heard this, he also showed the light of victory. His reinforcements had finally arrived. Not good. Upon hearing this, Yi Xian's expression darkened. He hadn't expected that the 8th level Nether Passage expert Mo Shui had mentioned would actually come. This was going to be troublesome. It seems that I can only use the Eye of the Void to escape. Yi Xian thought to himself. He was only at the 4th level of the Nether Passage Realm. If he gathered everything, he might be able to break through to the 5th level. However, this 8th level Nether Passage expert was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he would meet up with the black-clothed man. He didn't have time. What a powerful demonic aura! The leading scholar's eyes lit up. If the newcomer was a demonic cultivator of the demonic path, then they still had the strength to fight. Immediately, the leading scholar took out a long painting from his yin and yang ring. Mountain River Treasure Map Suppress. The leading scholar used his true energy and 10,000 mammoth strength to activate the long painting in his hand. In the next moment, a floating image appeared above his head. The long painting in his hand was enlarged. When the illusionary images of mountains and rivers appeared, the aura of the expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage Realm instantly weakened. Damned Northern Heavens Academy. I'll kill you all. The expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage Realm was enraged. The demonic vein in his body had been greatly suppressed by the Mountain River treasure map, but it shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with 3 6th level Nether Passage scholars. Once the Mountain River treasure map appeared, the 3 scholars once again formed the tripartite sword formation and charged forward. The black-clothed assassin who had originally fled quietly circled to the side, preparing to destroy the floating Mountain River treasure map. However, at this moment, your opponent is me. Yi Xian suddenly appeared and intercepted him. Brat, a mere 4th level Nether Passage expert dares to oppose me? You're courting death. The black-clothed assassin was extremely furious. Just now, Mo Shui was also at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm, but he had killed the head of the Black Chaos Corner Underworld branch. Now, another Yi Xian had appeared, so he was prepared to vent his anger on Yi Xian. You want to kill me? Let's see if you have the ability. The corner of Yi Xian's mouth rose slightly. Megatron and the Thunder Pearl had already pincer attacked the black-clothed assassin from the left and right. Brat, die. The black-clothed assassin ignored the two treasures and stabbed with his hand. An incomparably sharp sword light shot towards Yixian. However, Yixian didn't care and allowed the sword light to enter his chest. Pooh! Yixian's heart had been pierced, but he wouldn't die because of it. Heavenly Thunder Halberd. Heavenly Thunder Domain. A lightning spear had unknowingly condensed in Yixian's hand, and he fiercely stabbed it into the ground. Busy. Boundless lightning. The black-clothed assassin was shocked. Yixian's heart had been pierced, so why wasn't he dead? Because of this, he had been careless, and the lightning serpents of the Heavenly Thunder Domain had entered his body, causing his speed to decrease. However, the true killing move had yet to come. Whoosh! A gust of wind whistled. The black-clothed assassin turned his head and saw a pillar of lightning coming towards him. No matter who it was, as long as they saw the Thunder Pearl, they would think that it was just an ordinary divine artifact. However, the power of the Thunder Pearl was incomparably strong. Boom! The black-clothed assassin was engulfed by the lightning and disappeared. However, he was 3 realms higher than Yixian, so he wouldn't be killed so easily. Taste this move again. Yixian suddenly drained all the true qi in his body and stabbed out with his left index finger, parting Heaven Sword Finger. A red light flashed and entered the black-clothed assassin's chest. He had just learned this move from the fallen underworld branch leader, Chao Zhiping. It was a superior-grade ethereal opening divine artifact, and its power was extraordinary. Yixian, who had the Eye of Revelation, had copied many martial arts techniques. The black-clothed assassin knew about the parting Heaven Sword Finger, but he didn't expect Yixian to know this move as well. Chapter 1185. With his heart pierced, the true energy in the assassin's body leaked out. His all-creation strength also disappeared, and he was turned into a charred corpse by the Thunder Dragon's roar. Yixian rushed over and took the universe ring. However, there wasn't much inside, so he couldn't break through. Ding! Megatron broke through. Ding! Thunder Pearl broke through. Since that was the case, he would use it to strengthen Megatron and Thunder Pearl. Now, these two treasures were at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. Go! Yixian hurriedly controlled the two treasures and attacked the 8th level Nether Passage realm expert. As for the remaining assassins Luoluo Lingyao, and the rest could deal with them. Don't forget they had more people. On the other side, the 8th level Nether Passage realm expert who had just arrived saw the assassin's death, and his expression changed greatly. Damn it, this Northern Heavens Academy is truly my nemesis. Let's go. This expert didn't dare to delay and immediately turned around. Want to leave? Tripartite Sunpiercer. The leading scholar roared and stabbed out with his long sword. However, the opponent was still a step faster than him. All 3 long swords struck empty air, and in the blink of an eye, the distance between them had been pulled apart. Yixian, who had just arrived, looked at the departing figure and prepared to use 10,000 returning swords to stop him. Of course, the opponent's speed was too fast, and he might not be able to stop him. However, as long as he stayed, he would definitely be able to break through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. Yixian, don't chase. The 3 of us don't have much true energy left. The leading scholar hurriedly shouted in a low voice. In the battle just now they had used a high-level sword formation, and had used up too much of their true energy. Even with the Mountain River treasure map, they couldn't beat the 8th level Nether Passage realm expert. Sigh, if only Senior Brother was here. Senior Brother would definitely be able to kill him easily. The younger scholar sighed. They had used their full strength in this battle. Fortunately, the 8th level Nether Passage realm expert who had arrived at the end had cultivated a demonic art. Otherwise, they would have been in trouble. Since the opponent had retreated, the remaining assassins were quickly killed by Yixian. We won. Haha, I told you we would be fine. But why did that assassin take our clothes? A girl asked with a red face. Just now, when Emo Shui was inspecting them, he took off the left side of their clothes and left. This made everyone think that Emo Shui was a thief. However, they had personally witnessed Emo Shui helping the 3 scholars kill a 7th level Nether Passage realm martial artist. Young master, the interspatial rings are inside. Luoluo hurriedly collected the universe ring and threw it to Yixian. The 3 of you, if it weren't for the 3 of you, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Take these cosmos rings as compensation. Yixian tossed the pouch containing the universe ring to the leading scholar. All right, thank you, Brother Yi. The leading scholar didn't refuse. They had almost died this time, so it was only right for them to get some reward. Although there weren't many things here, it was enough for them to cultivate for a period of time. As for Yixian, he had naturally left some things for himself as well. These things could help him break through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, but there was no need for that at the moment. This battle had been extremely intense as several dozen people had perished, including a few Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples. Yixian also distributed some things to Elder Lingyao and the others before continuing on their way. They were still a day or two away from the Heavenly Thunder Hall. It would be best if they hurried back immediately. What if the assassins gathered another wave of people? However, Yixian wasn't afraid now because as long as he wanted to, he could immediately break through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. If the assassins dared to come again, they would be courting death. As he had expected, the rest of the journey was peaceful. Those assassins didn't come again. Those assassins charmed by Luoluo also took on the role of escorts. However, those charmed by the Eye of Bewitchment would automatically be dispelled a day later. Thus they were all killed by Yixian. However, with the help of the All Manifestations power of these people, this massive group spent a day to hurry back to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Yixian, Elder Lingyao, the three of us will be taking our leave first. After seeing the Heavenly Thunder Hall, the leading scholar cupped his fists towards Yixian. You three, won't you come in and have a seat? Elder Lingyao hurriedly asked. No, the commotion caused by the underworld is too great. We must return immediately. The leading scholar shook his head. Indeed, the underworld had wantonly captured people. Something must have happened. Thus, they had to report back to the Northern Heavens Academy. Since that's the case, I won't keep you any longer. Take care of yourselves. Elder Lingyao cupped his fists as well. Then, the three scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy left. All of you follow me in. Elder Lingyao said to the 100 pairs of siblings. Originally, even if he was an elder of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, he couldn't allow so many people to enter. However, one shouldn't forget that Yixian had returned with him this time. When he had met Yixian that day, the latter had only been at the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm. However, now Yixian was already at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. He had already surpassed the number 1 genius of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Zhantian. Most importantly, Yixian had the ability to challenge those of a higher level. Moreover, it was 2 levels. Even 3 levels might not necessarily succeed. Yixian's strength was probably not any weaker than the Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Elder Lingyao led the group into the Heavenly Thunder Hall. After letting Ling Mutian and the others make arrangements, he himself hurriedly left. Yixian knew that he had gone to look for the higher-ups of the Ling family. Profound Water Thunder Devouring clan, I have returned. Very soon, it will be the day of your destruction. The corner of Yixian's mouth raised slightly as he walked towards the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Could it be? Seeing Yixian leave, Ling Mutian's heart trembled slightly. He hurriedly chased after him and asked, Yixian, are you going to look for the Zhao family? That's right. Yixian turned, directly nodding. This profound water thunder Devouring entrusted the netherworld to kill me. How can I not take revenge for this? Hearing this, Ling Mutian's figure shook as he asked in shock. Then you killed Zhao Chong as well? Right now, he was already intimidated by Yixian's strength. Even an expert at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm was killed by Yixian. So what did Zhao Chong, who was at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm, count for? Yes. Yixian nodded in reply. It was Zhao Chong who had wanted to kill him first anyway. Also, with his current cultivation level, even if he exterminated the Profound Water Thunder WRM clan, it would still be fine. Hearing Yixian's reply, Ling Mutian was already at a loss for words. He had yet to receive Zhao Chong's reward even now, so it turned out that Zhao Chong was already dead. Fortunately, Yixian did not pursue the matter of that day. Otherwise, he would have been in trouble. Chapter 1186. The Grand Elder of the Black Water Lightning WYRM clan was an expert at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. However, this level of cultivation was nothing to Yixian, who was at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. Soon Yixian arrived at the residence of the Black Water Lightning Wyrm clan. At this moment someone walked out and bumped into Yixian. "It's you." Zhao Lai looked at Yixian in shock. He never thought that Yixian would actually return to the Heavenly Thunder Hall. How was this possible? One had to know that they had already entrusted the underworld to capture Yixian and send him to an expert in the Black Chaotic Corner to search his memories. However, Yixian had actually appeared in the Heavenly Thunder Hall. This meant that the underworld had failed. "Stinking brat, you still dare!" Before Zhao Lai could finish speaking, his body trembled. Ding! Control successful. The system notified. After this notification, Zhao Lai directly became Yixian's slave. "Master, this way please," Zhao Lai said respectfully. Behind Yixian, Ling Mutian was completely stunned when he heard this. A second ago, Zhao Lai looked like he was going to eat someone. In the next second, he had become Yixian's slave. However, when he thought of how Yixian could suddenly summon a little fox and control dozens of people, Ling Mutian calmed down. Back then, even those at the 4th level of the Nether Passage realm had been controlled and those at the 7th level had been killed. What more Zhao Lai, who was at the 2nd level? Yixian was led by Zhao Lai into the residence of the Black Water Lightning Wyrm clan. Before this, Yixian had already sensed several auras inside. 1/6 level of the Nether Passage realm, 3/5 level of the Nether Passage realm, and more than 10 4th level of the Nether Passage realm. As for those at the 3rd level of the Nether Passage realm and below, Yixian couldn't be bothered to count. Black Water Lightning Wyrm. "Get out here." Yixian's roar shook the entire residence. This voice spread to every corner of the residence, and even the people nearby were alarmed. Who is causing trouble here? Let's go out and take a look. You really don't want to live anymore. You dare to cause trouble in my Black Water Lightning Flood Dragon clan? You're courting death. A group of Demon Clan experts walked out angrily, but they saw a familiar face. Yixian. How could it be him? The group of experts was shocked. They had clearly placed a bounty on Yixian's head, and didn't care if Yixian lived or died. So why was Yixian able to appear here now? The Blackwater Lightning Serpent's first elder also heard the commotion and came out. After seeing Yixian, he was extremely shocked and angrily shouted, "Bastard, how dare you shout in my place? Do you want to die? How dare you put a bounty on my head in the underworld? Today is the day you die." Yixian had a murderous look on his face. He had always sought revenge for the smallest grievance. Since this Blackwater Lightning Serpent wanted to kill him, then it had to be prepared to be annihilated. The eyes of the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon clan's Grand Elder flickered. A junior actually dared to threaten to annihilate them. He was truly courting death. But at this moment, Grand Elder, he's at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. A Demon Clan expert closer to Yixian said in shock. The moment he said this, the entire place fell silent. What? Everyone was shocked. How was the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm possible? How many days had it been? How could Yixian have broken through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm? The Blackwater Lightning Serpent clan's first elder couldn't believe it. He hurriedly stepped forward and sensed. Sure enough, he was at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. No, this is impossible. The first elder couldn't believe that Yixian had broken through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm from the 2nd level of the Nether Passage realm in just a few days. Was this a freaking reincarnator? Now I have the right to annihilate you, right? Yixian's lips curled slightly. At this moment, several figures suddenly rushed over. Yixian, wait. Elder Ling Yao hurriedly rushed over with several people. Yixian turned and saw that the person following behind Elder Ling Yao was the Heavenly Thunder Hall's Hall Lord Ling Xinglong. Yixian, what do you want? Ling Xinglong hurriedly asked. After hearing Elder Ling Yao's words, he was extremely shocked and hurriedly rushed over. However, he didn't know about the enmity between Yixian and the Blackwater Lightning Serpent clan. Hall Lord, you've come at the right time. Yixian directly took out a sheepskin scroll from his universe ring, saying, "The underworld previously put a bounty on my head for a total of 20,000 inner devil pills, and the one who issued this mission was the Blackwater Lightning Serpent clan. Thus I have come today for revenge." What, the underworld? Ling Xinglong was shocked. He took the sheepskin scroll and read it. It was indeed correct. He immediately glared at the group of Demon Clan experts, saying, "Jiao Clan, how dare you? Slander, this is definitely slander." A 5th-level Nether Passage Demon Clan expert stood out, saying, "This must have been fabricated by him. How could our Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan harm our fellow clansmen?" The Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan had joined the Heavenly Thunder Hall in recent years, and thus could be counted as a part of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Meanwhile, harming fellow clansmen was an extremely huge crime in the Heavenly Thunder Hall. If this crime was confirmed, the Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan would be finished. Is that so? The corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled slightly. The next moment, Jiao Lai beside him said loudly, "Lord Hall Lord, this is true. This was the Grand Elder's idea." Boom! When these words entered everyone's ears, it caused them to tremble. Jiao Lai had actually betrayed the Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan? Jiao Yang had already betrayed the Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan earlier, saying that Jiao Chong was still alive and clearing Yi Xian of suspicion. Now even Jiao Lai had betrayed them. What exactly had happened to the Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan that had always been united? "Bastard, what did you say?" The Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan's Grand Elder cursed furiously, preparing to send Jiao Lai flying with a slap. However, at this moment someone else spoke up. "This is true. I can bear witness to it as well," a muscular man said loudly. "Right, this is true. I can also bear witness to it. The bounty mission was issued by the Grand Elder. Not only that, the Grand Elder has also invited an expert of Black Chaotic Corner to prepare to search Yi Xian's memories." The surrounding people all spoke up. What's going on? The Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan's Grand Elder was already rendered speechless. In just the blink of an eye, he had already been found out by over 10 people? No, that's impossible. It was this brat's doing. After pondering for a moment, the Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan's Grand Elder instantly reacted as he rebuked furiously. "Brat, you controlled them? That's right, they are all under my control." Yi Xian grinned, revealing a confident smile. "Not just them, there are also these 3. Saying thus, he abruptly swiveled his head, gazing at those 3 5th-level Nether Passage experts of the Blackwater Lightning Serpent Clan. Ding, control successful. Ding, control successful. Ding, control successful. 3 system notifications sounded in succession. Chapter 1187. I can also testify that it was the Grand Elder who ordered me to go to the underworld to issue this mission. Me too. Right, it was the Grand Elder. The 3 of them echoed in agreement. This time, Ling Yao and the Heavenly Thunder Hall Lord Ling Xinglong were already shocked to the point of being speechless. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian had actually controlled 3 experts of the same level. Wasn't this a little too strong? Yu. The Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan's Grand Elder was already speechless. In the entire residence, he was probably the only one left who hadn't been controlled. "You controlled them just to slander me? Where's the proof?" The Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan's Grand Elder still refused to admit it. Haha. Yi Xian knew that the other party would never admit it, and he didn't want to take out any proof. Still, since he was already here, did he still need proof? "I don't have proof. However, I Yi Xian am the proof." Yi Xian's eyes flickered as he said coldly, "In this world where the strong were respected, the fist was the proof. As long as the fist was hard, the person was innocent. This was the unchanging truth. Good proof. You." The Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan's Grand Elder was so angry that he pointed at Yi Xian's nose. However, before he could finish, Yi Xian interrupted. "Hall Lord, this Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan wants to kill me. I can't not take revenge. My apologies." As his voice fell, Yi Xian walked out. The Heavenly Thunder Hall Lord was just about to speak when he suddenly recalled Elder Ling Yao's words. Yi Xian was someone who could even kill a 7th-level Nether Passage expert. Why not make use of this chance to weaken the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan? What big words. You're courting death. Seeing that the Heavenly Thunder Hall Lord was ignoring him, the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan's Grand Elder directly shot towards Yi Xian. Yi Xian was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, while he was at the 6th level. As long as Yi Xian was killed, everyone would wake up. Sadly, Yi Xian was no longer the same as before. "Take one of my moves." If you don't die, it'll be your skill. Yixian let out a low roar and suddenly thrust out his left hand. High-grade nether passage divine ability, parting heaven sword finger. Swish. Pooh! This cold light was so fast that it made one's heart palpitate. In an instant, it entered the head of the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon Clan's great elder, piercing through his brain. Plop! The corpse of the Blackwater Thunder Flood Dragon Clan's great elder fell halfway, and his aura began to dissipate quickly. A 6th-level Nether Passage Realm expert had been killed in one strike. Behind Yixian, the Heavenly Thunder Hall Lord, Elder Ling Yao, Ling Mutian and the surrounding Heavenly Thunder Hall disciples were already rendered speechless, some even shuddering. Even I wouldn't be able to withstand that move. The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xinglong, shuddered as he swallowed his saliva. In just a few short days, Yixian had grown to a level where he was even stronger than him. Could this Yixian be a samsara traveler? The Heavenly Thunder Hall's influence was not small. There were several 6th-level Nether Passage Realm experts in the hall, as well as 2 7th-level Nether Passage Realm ancestors. Meanwhile, while the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon Clan did not have a 7th-level Nether Passage Realm expert, they still had 2 6th-level Nether Passage Realm experts. If they were to mature, they would be a rather great threat. Now, however, their threat had directly decreased by half. No, it should be said that they were no threat at all. What was a mere 6th-level Nether Passage Realm ancestor of the Yao clan worth? Swish! 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 Now Yixian suddenly stabbed out a few more times, slaying the other 3 5th-level Nether Passage Realm experts, weakening the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon Clan's influence once more. Hall Lord, may I ask where the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon Clan is established? Yixian walked over, picking up the yin and yang rings of the 4 corpses before turning and asking, "You want to exterminate them?" The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xinglong, frowned. After pondering for a moment, Yixian decided to forget about it. With the addition of the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon Clan, the Heavenly Thunder Hall's strength had increased by quite a bit. If they were to exterminate this clan, the Heavenly Thunder Hall's strength would regress. It's not to the extent of exterminating them. I just want some compensation. Yixian shrugged, deciding to let them off. How much? The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xinglong, let out a sigh of relief, asking, 1,000,000 inner devil pills, Yixian directly said. As soon as these words left his mouth, the group of disciples behind him were all stunned. 1,000,000 inner devil pills? What the hell? It had to be known that 100 inner devil pills was already a fortune to them. 1,000,000, that was a whole 10,000 times the value of 100 pills. However, for a Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon clan that had a legacy of several hundred years, this was still something they could take out. After all, they would have to take it out even if they were to rummage through their chests. Otherwise, they would face the calamity of having their clan exterminated. All right, I can pay them first. The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Xinglong, suddenly said. Pay them first. Yixian raised his brows. He guessed that Ling Xinglong wanted to temporarily suppress his fury. Otherwise, if the Blackwater Lightning Flood Dragon clan really was exterminated, the Heavenly Thunder Hall would suffer a huge loss. Then I thanked the Lord. Also, if it is convenient, please help me exchange half of these inner devil pills for ores and the other half for natural treasures, said Yixian. Ores? Ling Xinglong and Ling Yao exchanged glances. Exchanging for natural treasures was understandable, but what was the point of exchanging them for ores? Still, they did not ask too much. After all, Yixian was no fool. 500,000 inner devil pills worth of ores would definitely be useful to him. All right, I will be able to gather it for you within 3 days. Ling Xinglong nodded. If the Lord has no other matters, I will be returning to rest first. Yixian cupped his fists towards Ling Xinglong before turning and leaving. At this moment, he had become the center of attention. In just a few short days, he had broken through from the 2nd level of the Nether Passage stage to the 5th level of the Nether Passage stage, and was even 10 years younger than the number 1 genius of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Ling Zhantian. Yixian was definitely a samsara traveler. This was what everyone was guessing in their hearts. There were even quite a few female disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, who were throwing flirtatious glances at Yixian. If Yixian was able to take a fancy to them, they would definitely soar to the heavens. If they could spend a night with Yixian, even if they had to lose 10 years of their lifespan, they would still be willing. After such a huge matter had occurred, the higher echelons of the Heavenly Thunder Hall had all gathered together. However, Yixian had closed his doors and refused to meet them these 3 days. The Ling family guessed that Yixian was cultivating, and thus did not disturb him. Of course, the higher echelons of the Heavenly Thunder Hall were also discussing how to form a relationship with the frivolous scholar of the Black Chaotic Corner. After all, behind the frivolous scholar was the Northern Heavens Academy. Whoever was able to enter the Northern Heavens Academy would definitely be extremely awesome. Very quickly 3 days had passed. 3 days later, Ling Xinglong personally brought ores worth 500,000 inner devil pills and natural treasures worth 500,000 to Yixian's residence. These things were rather attractive to Ling Xinglong himself. However, to Yixian they might not be able to help him break through. Chapter 1188. Thank you, Palace Master. After sensing the aura outside, Yixian hurriedly opened the door and thanked him. I still have a few things here. Ling Xinglong gave the items to Yixian and said, Do you have any relationship with that frivolous scholar? No. Yixian immediately shook his head. I heard from Elder Ling Yao that the Northern Heavens Academy is currently recruiting students. Why don't you go and take a look? If you can enter the Northern Heavens Academy, it will be much better than the Heavenly Thunder Hall. Ling Xinglong said. Yes, I also want to take a look at the Northern Heavens Academy. Yixian nodded. However, he didn't want to join the Northern Heavens Academy. He only wanted to investigate a few things. The underworld and Imo Shui were both looking for someone. It was fine if they were looking for someone, but they were looking for a pair of siblings. Therefore, this attracted his attention. Therefore, he wanted to take a look at the Northern Heavens Academy and see if there were any clues regarding this. Good, that's even better. I'm also preparing to send some knowledgeable disciples over. Ling Xinglong smiled with satisfaction. Yixian's talent was outstanding. Leaving him in the Heavenly Thunder Hall was too much of a waste. Therefore, Ling Xinglong felt that the Northern Heavens Academy was the most suitable for Yixian. Of course, Ling Xinglong had another reason for looking for him this time. Yixian, actually I want to ask, is your cultivation speed so fast because you have unlocked your inherited memories? Ling Xinglong asked again. This question stunned Yixian for a moment. However, he reacted in the blink of an eye. Palace Master, you've misunderstood. I'm not a reincarnator. Otherwise, I would definitely pass on some longevity divine ability and reincarnation divine ability to you. Yixian was also slightly helpless. However, he took out a yin and yang ring from his chest and handed it to Ling Xinglong, saying, Inside are some martial arts that I obtained, including the high-grade ethereal opening divine ability, parting heaven sword finger. Hearing this, Ling Xinglong's eyes lit up. In the Heavenly Thunder Hall, the Heavenly Thunder Battle Halberd was the one that was closest to the high-grade ethereal opening divine ability. Now, he actually obtained a high-grade ethereal opening divine ability. This was a huge gain. After thanking Yixian repeatedly, he left, not wanting to disturb Yixian's cultivation. As for Yixian, he returned to his own room. Luoluo, your cultivation resources are here. Yixian moved 500,000 inner demon pills worth of heavenly materials and earthly treasures into the planting space. With these heavenly materials and earthly treasures, Luoluo would be able to break through to the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm, or even the 7th level in a short amount of time. As for the remaining 500,000 inner demon pills worth of ores, they were all devoured by him. Ding! Wei Zhentian has broken through. Ding! The Thunder Pearl has broken through. 2 system notifications rang out. Right now, Wei Zhentian and the Thunder Pearl were both at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. Even if Yixian didn't make a move, they could still fight against a 7th level Nether Passage expert. However, because the Thunder Pearl and Yixian did not have a co-growth contract, half of the ores were wasted. Now that he had finished increasing his strength, it was time for Yixian to move on. In the past 3 days, he hadn't been staying in his room. Instead, he used the Eyes of the Void to travel around. He found out that the captured siblings had all been sent to Zhou Huacheng. This 100-thing city was also the one that the frivolous scholar had mentioned. Northern Heavens Academy's recruitment point was also located in Zhou Huacheng. Immediately, he tore through space and left the Heavenly Thunder Hall. arriving at Black Chaotic Corner once more. Then, he headed towards the northeast direction of Black Chaotic Corner. He estimated that it would take him around 2 days to reach Zhouhuaqing. In these 2 days, Luoluo had broken through to the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm by relying on the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, as well as the abundant yuan qi of heaven and earth in the planting space. With her and Yixian working together, it wouldn't be a problem for them to fight against 8th level Nether Passage experts. 2 days later, Yixian arrived at Zhouhuaqing. The city lord of Zhouhuaqing was only at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm, but it was said that the underworld here was very active. As soon as Yixian entered, he saw a scholar in white putting up a notice. Yixian curiously walked over to take a look. It turned out that he was looking for someone. However, the price on it was actually a full 1 million inner demon pills. What the fuck? After sighing in his heart, Yixian focused his gaze on the portrait. Tang Hanshan, 23 years old, 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. Yixian was speechless. A 23-year-old 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. This talent was truly terrifying. However, it was still acceptable. After all, she was a member of the Northern Heavens Academy. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly walked out from the city. After sensing this aura, Yixian also looked over and discovered that the person who'd arrived was someone he knew. Frivolous scholar? Yixian couldn't help but cry out in surprise. He never imagined that the frivolous scholar would be in Zhouhuaqing. It's you? The frivolous scholar also recognized Yixian and was slightly surprised. Are you also here to participate in my Northern Heavens Academy's test? The frivolous scholar asked. I haven't decided yet. I'm just here to take a look. Yixian shook his head. At this moment, he discovered that the frivolous scholar had already broken through and reached the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. So it's like this. The frivolous scholar nodded his head. Turning his head to look at the other scholar, he said, Is everything done? Senior brother, it's done. The scholar replied. Could it be that she was also? Yixian suddenly thought of something and asked. That's right. She should have also been captured. Tang Hanshan is my cousin. Before this, my cousin was also captured. The frivolous scholar nodded his head helplessly. Cupping his hands, he said, That's right. I'm called Tang Yuanlong. Yixian. Yixian cupped his hands and said, Brother Yi, I heard from my junior brothers that day. You're powerful. The frivolous scholar couldn't help but sigh. Brother Tang is overpraising me. I only had a fortuitous encounter. Yixian replied modestly. Since Brother Yi is here, why don't you take a look? My Northern Heavens Academy is currently recruiting students. As long as Brother Yi passes a small test, you can enter my Northern Heavens Academy and find a teacher. The frivolous scholar said intentionally. Okay. Yixian nodded his head. Originally, he only wanted to investigate. However, thinking that it might be easier to investigate if he had the identity of a Northern Heavens Academy disciple, he wanted to take a look. What's more, the Northern Heavens Academy had many high-grade Nether Passage divine abilities. There were even Heart's Desire divine abilities. This way, please. The frivolous scholar politely led the way in front. After a while, Yixian arrived in front of a mansion. There were already several long lines outside the mansion's entrance. These people were all here to register. The strength of these people varied. Some were only at the manifestation realm, while others were at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. Chapter 1189. With the frivolous scholar leading the way, Yixian directly entered the Northern Heavens Manor under the envious gazes of the crowd. Greetings, Senior Brother Tang. Greetings, Senior Brother Tang. Along the way, many disciples of the Northern Heavens Academy greeted him. It had to be said that this frivolous scholar was pretty popular. Although this frivolous scholar isn't strong, and his aptitude isn't high, his 3 disciples have said that he's cultivated the upright yang scripture to the 3rd stage. From the looks of it, he's pretty powerful. It seems that the things inside aren't things that can be learned with good aptitude. Yixian secretly said this in his heart, then followed the frivolous scholar into a room. Junior brother, this is my friend. He's here to participate in the examination. Tang Yuanlong said to a scholar at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. Yes, Senior brother. The scholar nodded and immediately stopped what he was doing. Yixian's actions could be considered as cutting the queue. However, the person who was in the examination just now didn't dare to have any objections. To be able to befriend a scholar from the Northern Heavens Academy, he definitely had some ability. He wasn't someone that he could provoke. After that, the scholar took out a piece of paper and handed it over to Yixian. Yixian took a look at the paper and inwardly shouted, "Damn, a guessing riddle?" That's right. The Northern Heavens Academy's examination was a guessing riddle. It was extremely simple. However, this scholar gave Yixian a very simple riddle on account of Tang Yuanlong. There were only 2 words on the paper, one person. The answer to the riddle is big. Yixian blurted out. He felt a little embarrassed that he had actually given him such a simple riddle. This was doubting his intelligence. "Brother Yi, please don't be offended. This guessing riddle is just for fun. Of course, if you can't even guess the riddle, how can you enter my Northern Heavens Academy?" Tang Yuanlong said with a smile. However, the riddle was only the first segment. There was still one more. "Please place your hand on this crystal," the scholar in charge of the examination said to the transparent sphere on the table. Oh, Yixian didn't think too much about it and directly placed his hand on it. Then clouds of black aura appeared in the transparent sphere. Seeing this, Tang Yuanlong and the examiner furrowed their brows. Their expressions were not good. "Brother Yi, your killing intent is a bit heavy," Tang Yuanlong said slowly. "Yes, I killed a lot of people." Yixian nodded. "This killing intent has already surpassed my Northern Heavens Academy's recruitment standards. However, it's not that my Northern Heavens Academy won't accept you. You can first cultivate in the outer court for a period of time. As long as you pass the test, you'll be able to enter the inner court." Tang Yuanlong continued. All right. Yixian didn't have any objections. In any case, he just wanted to take a look at the Northern Heavens Academy. What are you looking at? After all, he had the insightful eye. If he could learn a wishful divine ability, it would be a huge gain. This crystal can be used to test not only killing intent, but also demonic veins. Brother Yi, since you don't cultivate demonic arts, you can enter the outer court, Tang Yuanlong continued. After that, the exam scholar passed a token and a letter to Yixian saying, "You can enter the Northern Heavens Academy at any time." Many thanks. Yixian received the token and letter and kept them in his universe ring. With this, he passed the test and could enter the Northern Heavens Academy to cultivate. However, he also knew that the outer court of the Northern Heavens Academy wasn't that great. After all, even someone like him who was filled with killing intent could enter. The outer court was probably a mix of crooks and dragons. There might even be assassins from the underworld mixed in. Brother Tang, I want to ask, where is the branch of the underworld located in Zhouhua City? After Yixian left the room, he asked. The branch of the underworld? Why do you ask? Tang Yuanlong asked with a frown. I have 2 friends who were captured by the underworld's assassins. I don't know where they were transferred to, but I've been investigating. If not, I wouldn't have fought with the Phantom Gang that day. Yixian said truthfully. Tang Yuanlong recalled for a moment. Indeed, he heard that Yixian had fought with the Phantom Gang because of this matter, which led to the destruction of the Phantom Gang. The branch of the underworld in Zhouhua City was destroyed by a teacher from the Northern Heavens Academy a few days ago. A few people were captured and brought back to the Northern Heavens Academy. Tang Yuanlong replied. Destroyed? Yixian raised his eyebrows. It seemed that he could investigate this matter on the way. Immediately, he bid farewell to the frivolous scholar and left. On the letter, there was a map from Zhouhua City to the Northern Heavens Academy. It turned out that there was an illusion array outside the Northern Heavens Academy, which was why it wasn't discovered. Now that it was open, it was easy to find. Following that, Yixian spent another 2 days to catch up with others and arrive at the Northern Heavens Academy. The Northern Heavens Academy was built on a mountain and surrounded by clouds. Looking from afar, it looked like a fairyland. Yixian arrived at the foot of the mountain. The outer courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy was at the foot of the mountain. It covered a large area, and there were already many people who came from all over the place. Sir, may I ask what's the matter? One of the scholars leaned over. I've passed Zhouhua City's test and am here to report. Yixian said directly. Oh, the reporting area is there. I'll bring you there," the scholar said in an extremely friendly manner. "Many thanks." Yixian thanked him. Soon he arrived at the reporting area. The teacher reporting is actually at the 8th level of the Nether Passage stage. Yixian couldn't help but shiver. This Northern Heavens Academy was indeed formidable. "You're here to report, right? Give me the letter." The old man extended his hand without raising his head. Yixian passed the letter over. The old man glanced at it, then threw it to the side. However, in the next instant he suddenly thought of something and picked up the letter. "This date, was it 2 days ago? You only spent 2 days to get here from Zhouhua City?" the old man said with some astonishment. "Oh, this brat has a flying mount," Yixian hurriedly explained. If it was an ordinary 5th level Nether Passage stage, it would take at least 5 to 6 days to get here from Zhouhua City. However, Yixian had only spent 2 days. "Oh, so it's like that." The old man didn't think too much about it. Taking out another crystal, he said, "Test your killing intent again." He didn't believe that such a young person like Yixian would possess such a vigorous killing intent. Yixian extended his hand to test it again. Sure enough, it was the same as before. "Brat, kill less and study more," the old man said sincerely. "I will." Yixian nodded his head. The outer courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy was a place for people to cultivate their mental state. Only by improving their mental state and decreasing their killing intent could they enter the inner courtyard. Chapter 1190. What Shui? Hearing this, Yixian's body couldn't help but tremble. He actually heard this name in the Northern Heavens Academy. Should he say that he was lucky or unlucky? He never thought that Shui would also enter the Northern Heavens Academy. Could it be that he was also investigating that matter? Shui is a reincarnator. He has lived for thousands of years in his previous life. Moreover, he is an assassin. The number of people he has killed in these thousands of years is probably more than the number of rice I have eaten. Yixian also trembled. Then he took some things and left. "Junior, since you have entered the Northern Heavens Academy, we are on the same side from now on. No matter what you have done in the past, or who you have killed, I hope that you can cultivate a life of righteousness. This will be very helpful for your cultivation in the future." The scholar that led the way for Yixian reminded him. "Thank you, senior." Yixian thanked him. Among the things he took, there was something called the meditation record. If he wanted to enter the inner courtyard, he had to completely understand the meditation record. "Alright, if you have time, you can go to the meditation lake. Sometimes there will be some zither music. It will be very helpful for you." After the scholar finished speaking, he turned around and left. Zither music? Yixian raised his eyebrows, but he wasn't interested. He only had one goal in entering the Northern Heavens Academy, and that was to investigate. But now he had to find Shui and see if there were any clues. He really didn't expect that Shui would also investigate this place. This Shui, did he also come here to investigate? Who is the person that Shui and the underworld are looking for? Yixian had many questions in his heart. He also didn't know if he would start a fight if he met Shui here. After all, there were Fulfillment Realm experts in the Northern Heavens Academy. If he made a scene, he definitely wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. The outer courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy had just been established, surrounding the entire mountain. In front of Yixian, there were already thousands of people who had joined the Northern Heavens Academy. Yixian didn't even go back to his own residence and began to wander around. With his extraordinary perceptive eye, as long as Shui appeared nearby, he would immediately sense it. This time, the Northern Heavens Academy was recruiting students. Practically anyone could come, ranging from 60 years old to 6 years old. Naturally, the younger ones were called book boys and were brought to other places by the teachers of the Northern Heavens Academy to be nurtured. While Yixian was searching for Shui, he encountered quite a few people. There were also quite a few who looked extremely vicious. However, they didn't dare to cause trouble in the Northern Heavens Academy. Yixian circled around the foot of the mountain but could not find Shui. Could he have gone out? Yixian frowned, slightly puzzled. Helplessly, he stopped by the side of a lake and prepared to look at the meditation record that he had just obtained. This meditation record is really a strange thing. Even with my memory, I can only remember a paragraph. Yixian didn't dare to believe it. Along the way he heard quite a few things. Most people entered the outer courtyard. If they wanted to advance from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard, they would have to thoroughly understand the meditation record. In other words, they would have to memorize the entire record. Memorizing was an extremely easy task for someone of Yixian's level. Even if it was 10,000 words, he would be able to memorize it without missing a single word. However, this meditation record was very mysterious. After looking at it for a while, Yixian could only remember a paragraph about 100 words. The more murderous a person was, the less content they would remember. Only when their heart was calm would they be able to remember. Simply speaking, this was the cultivation of the state of mind. My murderous aura is too strong, so memorizing this meditation record is too slow. Some people can memorize a few pages of content after entering the outer courtyard. Yixian was very helpless. This meditation record had 100 pages of content, and each page had at least 5 paragraphs. However, Yixian could only memorize a paragraph. How long would it take him to memorize it? This is too scary. Even if I read it aloud, I would forget it in the blink of an eye. If I had to memorize it, I probably wouldn't be able to finish memorizing it in a year. Yixian shuddered. If he wanted to advance from the outer courtyard to the inner courtyard, he would have to memorize the entire meditation record without missing a single word. If Yixian was given time, it would take at least 5 years. However, he still had a cheat. Ding! Meditation record successfully copied. The system prompted. Now, even if Yixian couldn't memorize it, he could still peek at it in his mind. So as long as he wanted to, he could immediately advance to the inner courtyard. However, there was no need for that. At this moment, the melodious sound of a zither suddenly entered his ears. Yixian raised his eyebrows. He suddenly sensed many people rushing in his direction and gathered by the lake. The zither is here. The zither is here. Everyone come quickly. This is a good opportunity to improve your state of mind. The people from the outer courtyard all gathered around. The zither? When Yixian heard this, he was stunned for a moment. He suddenly remembered what the scholar had told him. If he had the chance, he could go to Meditation Lake. If he could hear the zither, it would be a good opportunity to improve his state of mind quickly. Among this group of outer courtyard disciples, there were people who stayed here every day and didn't return at night just to hear the zither. Yixian turned his head in the direction of the sound. He realized that the sound was coming from the island in the middle of the lake. There was some kind of array on the island that blocked his spiritual sense and perception. Who's playing the zither? Yixian was very puzzled. However, after listening for a few seconds, he felt much calmer. The zither's sound did have a significant effect on his state of mind. It seemed that a powerful person was playing the zither and using the power of all creations to release the sound. It calmed the surrounding scholars and improved their state of mind. It had to be said that after listening to the song, it was really effective. Yixian felt that he had memorized 1 or 2 more lines of the meditation record. If he listened to it a few more times, he would be able to memorize the entire page. However, this was useless to Yixian. Soon the song stopped and the song ended. Sigh, that's it again. But my state of mind has improved a lot. After a while, I'll be able to memorize 30 pages. That's fast. I haven't even finished memorizing 25 pages. The group of scholars shook their heads helplessly. The most helpless one was Yixian. Among these outer courtyard scholars, there were probably people who had killed 10 times more people than him. However, his killing intent was ranked second. This puzzled him. Forget it. I'm just here to investigate anyway. When the time is right, I'll pass the test and enter the inner courtyard. Then, I'll use the Eye of Revelation to steal some divine abilities. Chapter 1191. There were many methods to suppress demonic arts in the Northern Heavens Academy. For example, the 3 scholars in the escort team had taken out a mountain and river treasure map drawn by an expert to suppress the expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. In the future, he might encounter many enemies who cultivated demonic arts. When that time comes, the Northern Heavens Academy's divine abilities would come in handy. However, just at this moment, everyone come and take a look. The nobleman in the lake has suggested that everyone compose a poem. If you're chosen as one of the top 3, you'll be able to obtain at least 300,000 inner demon pills. Suddenly someone shouted. As those words rang out, the eyes of the surrounding scholars lit up. Turning their heads, they discovered that the speaker was an old scholar from the inner courtyard. This old scholar was at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm and was extremely powerful. As his voice rang out, quite a few people gathered over. There were at least a few thousand people. However, there were only a few dozen people who had started composing poems. There weren't even 100 of them. Killing people, I know. What the hell is composing poems? Among these people there were even some who couldn't recognize words. How could they compose poems? Furthermore, the scholars from the inner courtyard are not allowed to join. The old scholar reminded. The scholars from the inner courtyard were originally students of the Northern Heavens Academy. These people were extremely knowledgeable and could casually compose poems. If they were to join, the others wouldn't be able to play anymore. At this moment, Yixian's interest was piqued after hearing those words. At least 300,000 inner demon pills? This is a good opportunity. Yixian's eyes lit up. Composing poems he didn't know. However, even if he hadn't eaten pork, wouldn't he have seen a pig run? Even if he was a bad student, it was impossible for him to forget a poem. Immediately, he took out a piece of paper and quickly wrote on it. Naturally, he didn't forget to write his name. Senior brother, this is mine. Yixian rushed over and passed the paper to the old scholar. Oh! The old scholar was astonished. He could feel the killing intent from Yixian. However, he never thought that Yixian could actually compose such a poem. Truly, one couldn't judge a book by its cover. Not bad, not bad. The old scholar nodded slightly. Among the thousands of outer courtyard scholars, there were quite a few young masters who were born in clans. They had to learn when they were young so they could compose some poems. However, they were probably not very good. Yixian was very confident in the poem he had written. Although it was not his work, this was a different world, so it was possible to steal it. The poem he took out was the work of the immortal poet Li Bai, Quiet Night Thoughts. Soon, the old scholar finished collecting all the works and flew towards the small island in the middle of the lake. Everyone was curious. With so many entries, who would be able to take the top 3 and obtain the 300,000 inner demon pills reward? After a while, the old scholar returned. It seemed that the results were out. Who were the 3 lucky ones? Alright, the top 3 have been decided. They were personally chosen by the nobles of the lake. Without saying anything, the old scholar began to read. 3rd place, Ko Yao's Annal Fu. Then, he began to recite the Annal Fu. 2nd place, Li Yang's Journey to the North. The old scholar continued. 3rd place, 300,000 inner demon pills. 2nd place, 400,000 inner demon pills. As for 1st place, it's 500,000 inner demon pills. After hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. 500,000 inner demon pills was not a small amount. It was enough to create an expert in the 7th tier of the Nether Passage realm. Who would take 1st place in the end? It's me, it's definitely me. Li Yang's Journey to the North was compared to mine before. The elders of the clan all said that mine was better. A scholar thought to himself. At this time, the old scholar slowly opened his mouth. 1st place, Yixian's Quiet Night Thoughts. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes gathered on the white figure in the air not far away. They all remembered the names of the people who went up just now. Moreover, Yixian's killing intent was so strong that it was impossible not to remember him. Therefore, they all recognized Yixian. Who would have thought that the person with the strongest killing intent would actually take 1st place in the poem competition? It was simply unbelievable. Haha, it's really me. Poetic Immortal, bless me. Yixian couldn't help but laugh wildly. Of course he said this in his heart. Quiet Night Thoughts. Before the climax, the moonlight is bright, suspected of frost on the ground. Looking up at the bright moon, I lower my head and think of my hometown. The old scholar read the poem and sighed. Good poem, good poem. I'm afraid even I can't compose this. Junior brother Yi is amazing, amazing. Senior brother, you flatter me. Yixian said somewhat shamefully. At this time, what he wanted most was for the old scholar to quickly give him the reward. 500,000 inner demon pills. However, at this time, F***ck, this poem is awesome. I've only heard it once and my state of mind has improved. Yes, I improved too. This is incredible. Quick, write it down. Recite it every night. It can speed up the improvement of your mental state. Haha, we've profited. This effect is not inferior to the previous one. The crowd boiled over again. When the old scholar heard this, he was deeply surprised and said in shock, "This poem has such an effect. Junior brother, may I know where your hometown is?" "Oh, my hometown is Earth Village. It's far away," Yixian casually replied. "Earth Village, huh? If there's a chance in the future I can go and take a look." The old scholar nodded with a smile. Soon after, his expression suddenly turned solemn as he said, "This poem has no effect on me. However, it can actually raise their mental state and give them spirituality. If this is written on a special piece of paper, it may be able to be made into an extremely powerful tool to suppress demons." "Damn, you can do that?" Yixian raised his eyebrows. He was really shocked. A poem could be made into a divine artifact to suppress demons. Wasn't this too amazing? He suddenly remembered the mountain river treasure map that the three scholars took out that day. It was also a very special divine artifact. However, he knew that the person who drew the mountain river treasure map was definitely not weak. He was probably an expert in the fulfillment realm. "Junior brother, this is your reward. As for your poem, I want to submit it to the academy. Is that okay?" the old scholar asked. Of course. Take it. However, I hope to sign it as Li Bai Muzi Li Bai Bai," Yixian said. The old scholar paused for a moment, then reacted and said with a smile, "No problem." He suddenly remembered that the scholars all had two names. Yixian should only be their real name, so he didn't ask any further. "Thank you, senior brother." Yixian took the bag of inner demon pills. The joy in his heart was completely displayed on his face. However, at this time his expression suddenly froze. He sensed that a familiar aura had entered the range of his perception, and then disappeared. Chapter 1192. Emo Shui, I found you. Yixian's eyes widened as he left his original spot. That aura belonged to Emo Shui. After searching for so long, he finally found him. Immediately, he chased after him. However, before he could take a few steps, a beautiful figure blocked his path. "Yixian, my family's young miss invites you." This was a young lady around 25 years old. She had a pretty face and wore white clothes. However, don't underestimate her. She was actually at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. Yixian was curious about this person's identity. No, it should be said that he was curious about the young miss that this lady spoke of. To be called a young miss by an expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm, could it be that she was the pride of the Northern Heavens Academy's inner courtyard? "Sorry, I'm busy right now. I don't have time." Yixian couldn't be bothered with her and directly replied, "What, you don't have time? Do you know who my family's young miss is?" This lady was so angry that she almost choked. Her family's young miss wasn't someone that just anyone could meet. However, Yixian actually dared to refuse, which made her furious. "Sorry, I really have something urgent right now." Yixian didn't slow down and directly brushed past this lady. Seeing Yixian's appearance, the lady in white didn't chase after him. This was because she felt that Yixian really did have something urgent to do. Perhaps he had to go to the toilet. Therefore, she decided to wait here because she knew that Yixian would definitely return. After shaking off this lady in white, Yixian chased after Emo Shui. However, Emo Shui's speed was extremely fast. He only flashed past his senses, so he could only use the Eye of Revelation to track him. This Emo Shui actually snuck into the Northern Heavens Academy, and even pretended to be a scholar. Yixian suddenly felt a deep sense of disharmony. Who was Emo Shui? A reincarnator. An assassin that had lived for thousands of years actually pretended to be a scholar. This was truly shameless to the extreme. However, this Emo Shui might have some clues, so Yixian could use him to investigate. Is Emo Shui going up the mountain? Yixian's eyebrows twitched as he watched Emo Shui rush towards the Northern Heavens Academy's entrance. On the mountain was the inner courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy. Most importantly, scholars from the outer yard were not allowed to enter the inner yard. Is Emo Shui trying to force his way in? Thinking about this, Yixian felt that it was a little unrealistic. There were fulfillment realm experts in the Northern Heavens Academy's inner courtyard, And Emo Shui was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm. If he barged in, coupled with the powerful killing intent leaking from his body, he would definitely die without a burial ground. No matter what Emo Shui was going to do, Yi Xian had to follow him. Very quickly, Emo Shui arrived in front of the mountain gate of the Northern Heavens Academy. Only after passing through this mountain gate could one enter the Northern Heavens Academy. The outer courtyard at the foot of the mountain was only recently established. However, what surprised Yi Xian was that Emo Shui was actually preparing to challenge the trial. Emo Shui directly rushed into the mountain gate and ran up the mountain. F***ck. This is crazy. Yi Xian was shocked. Emo Shui's life or death was related to his revenge mission. If Emo Shui did not die by his hand, then the 3 devour points would be wasted. F***ck. I hope he doesn't get killed by those teachers of the Northern Heavens Academy. Yi Xian prayed in his heart. It would be best if Emo Shui was beaten half to death. Then he would be the one to do it. Killing people in the Northern Heavens Academy was a big crime, but Yi Xian could use the Eye of the Void to leave and then come back with a disguise. For the 3 devour points, it was worth it. However, in the next moment he was completely shocked. The few old scholars guarding the Northern Heavens Academy's entrance only glanced at Emo Shui and let him go. What's the situation? Were those old scholars bribed by Emo Shui? They actually let him in? Yi Xian was very puzzled and hurriedly followed. I heard that the moon worship demonic sect is ready to make a move again. They even joined hands with the underworld and started to make a move on our Northern Heavens Academy. Yes, I also heard that. I'm afraid that among the scholars in the outer courtyard, there might be many spies from the moon worship demonic sect and the underworld. I don't understand. Why did the dean order to open the Northern Heavens Academy? Isn't this what they want? Not necessarily. Didn't they catch a lot of people from the moon worship demonic sect and the underworld a while ago? Maybe they are playing hard to get. A few old scholars in the inner courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy were chatting. At this moment they saw another figure dashing over. The scholar in the lead hurriedly stopped him. Junior brother, you can't enter the inner courtyard. The leading scholar shouted at Yi Xian, who was rushing over. Yi Xian knew that he would definitely be stopped, so he hurriedly asked, Senior brothers, may I ask why that person can enter the inner courtyard? Just now? The leading scholar frowned. Emo Shui has already passed the entrance exam and is now a scholar in the inner courtyard. What, he passed the entrance exam? Hearing this, Yi Xian was shocked. If he wanted to pass the entrance exam, didn't he have to memorize the entire meditation record? According to the teacher who reported, Emo Shui's murderous aura was stronger than his. He was the number 1 existence in the outer courtyard. Such a person probably couldn't even memorize a section of the meditation record, so how did he pass the entrance exam? Junior brother, you also think it's impossible, right? A tall scholar walked over. The murderous aura on his body is stronger than yours, but he still passed the entrance exam. Even the examiner didn't find any clues. This? Yi Xian was still shocked. However, he knew Emo Shui's background. Emo Shui was a reincarnator, an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. He should have no problem passing this kind of exam. Junior brother, if you want to enter the inner courtyard, you have to pass the entrance exam. The exam hall is over there. The scholar pointed to a small palace not far away. Okay. Thank you, senior brother. Yi Xian nodded, then immediately turned around and left. This junior brother's murderous aura is so strong. Is he also going to take the entrance exam? Impossible, there's already Emo Shui. If there's another one, it'll be strange. Maybe they have some method to avoid the examiner's eyes. That won't work now. Ever since Emo Shui passed the entrance exam, the examiner in charge of the entrance exam is an academician. That's a fulfillment realm expert. The scholars felt that it was unlikely, so they began to talk about themselves. As for Yi Xian, he quickly arrived at the examination hall. Such a strong aura, a fulfillment realm expert? When Yi Xian approached, he found that there was only one person in the exam hall. Chapter 1193. How terrifying. In front of a fulfillment realm expert, it's hard to pass even if you cheat. Yi Xian's heart sank, but he still stepped forward and walked in. He had already copied the meditation record. Although he couldn't memorize it, he could sneak a peek. Of course, there was a second way to cheat, and that was to have Luo Luo recite it from afar. Luo Luo could communicate with him mentally. As long as Luo Luo recited the meditation record during his test, Yixian would pass. However, this method was too troublesome. It was easier to just cheat. Yixian entered the test palace. There was a white-haired old man behind a desk in front of him. The white-haired old man didn't even raise his head. The killing intent on your body is too thick. You should go back and improve your mental state. Otherwise, you'll just be wasting time. Don't try to cheat. Teacher, I've already memorized it. Yixian said to the white-haired old man. Humph, you want to cheat again? The white-haired old man snorted coldly. He raised his head and looked at Yixian. All right, then I'll see what you've got. Originally, the test palace was supposed to be a teacher at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, but after Mo Shui's example, a fulfillment realm scholar was sent. The white-haired old man had Mo Shui test again, but he still didn't find any clues. Now that he saw Yixian come to the test so confidently, he wanted to see what Yixian had up his sleeve. For the advancement test, you just need to recite the meditation record word for word, right? Yixian asked. That's right. Just recite it. The white-haired old man was only a few dozen meters away from Yixian. However, there was no one else in the palace, and there was no one outside, so the white-haired old man didn't have to worry about someone sending a message to Yixian. All right, then I'll begin. Yixian nodded and then began to recite the meditation record. His slaughter chi was so strong that he could only memorize one paragraph of the tranquility record. However, with the help of the tranquility record, it wouldn't be a problem for him to memorize 100 books. According to the white-haired elder's estimation, Yixian would only recite 1 or 2 paragraphs. However, in the blink of an eye, Yixian had already finished reciting an entire page. Impossible! This is impossible! Stop! The white-haired old man couldn't believe it and hurriedly shouted. Yixian stopped and looked at the white-haired old man. How can you carry so many? This doesn't make sense. The white-haired old man asked in disbelief. In teacher's eyes, is it impossible for someone with a strong murderous aura to recite the meditation record? Yixian asked in return. Hearing this, the white-haired old man didn't reply. Instead, he quickly approached the young man and began to carefully size him up. Could it be that someone outside is using some kind of voice transmission method to help you cheat? The white-haired old man narrowed his eyes and asked. No. Yixian shook his head. The white-haired old man also thought that it was unlikely because he was a fulfillment realm expert. If someone had sent a sound transmission to Yixian, there was no way he wouldn't have discovered it. Fake. Too fake. He looked at Yixian's expression and knew that he was cheating. However, he couldn't find any clues. How did you do it? The white-haired old man asked curiously. I didn't cheat. I really memorized it, Yixian slowly replied. Impossible. The white-haired old man immediately denied it. Teacher, why don't you set up a formation yourself? Yixian suggested. This. The white-haired old man hesitated, but still used his true energy and manifestation strength to set up a layer of defense. Without another word, Yixian began to recite the meditation record. In the blink of an eye, another page had passed. I can't believe it. There was already a Mo Shui, and now there's another one. I don't believe that I can't find a clue. The white-haired old man's emotions were stirred. He had to find a way to cheat Yixian. Yixian was very helpless. He continued to recite the meditation record. Soon he had memorized the entire meditation record word for word. After hearing it, the white-haired old man was so shocked that he was speechless. With his strength he couldn't find a clue. This was too fake. How did you do it? The white-haired old man asked again. Teacher, I have a photographic memory, so this isn't difficult for me at all. Yixian lied. Impossible. Even if you have a photographic memory, as long as you've killed someone, you can't memorize the meditation record in one go. The white-haired old man was still skeptical. How about this? Teacher, take out another book and I'll memorize it for you, Yixian suggested. Hearing this, the white-haired old man's eyes lit up. He immediately took out a new book from his universe ring. The Compassionate Record? Yixian took the book and began to flip through it. The white-haired old man looked at Yi Xian and watched him quickly flip through the compassionate record. He thought of something and said, "If you can really memorize this book, I'll give you 500,000 inner demon pills." The compassionate record was something that inner court students studied. He estimated that Yi Xian could barely memorize the first sentence. He didn't believe that Yi Xian could recite the more difficult compassionate record in front of him. 500,000 inner demon pills? Hearing this, the corners of Yi Xian's mouth curled up slightly. No one could resist a gift from the heavens. All right. When the white-haired old man finished speaking, Yi Xian closed the compassionate record. All right, you memorize it. The white-haired old man quietly looked at Yi Xian, trying to find a clue from Yi Xian. Yi Xian directly ignored his gaze and began to recite the compassionate record. He had only recited a paragraph when the white-haired old man's expression became very ugly. This kid actually memorized it. This is impossible. The compassionate record is more difficult and longer than the meditation record. Even an inner court scholar might not be able to memorize it all. The white-haired old man couldn't believe it. This was even more unbelievable than Mo Shui passing the test. However, Yi Xian did it flawlessly. He cheated perfectly. The white-haired old man looked at Yi Xian and listened to Yi Xian recite the compassionate record. After a while, Yi Xian stopped because he had finished reciting it. "I can't believe that you actually did it. Could it be that you have some special constitution?" The white-haired old man muttered. "I'm not sure." Yi Xian shook his head. "Please help me pass the test, teacher." The white-haired old man paused for a moment, but still took out a bag of inner demon pills from his yin and yang ring. At the same time, he also took out a proof of passing the test. "You're quite capable, kid. Let's go." The white-haired old man decided to give up. He couldn't help it. He couldn't see anything wrong. Yi Xian was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, and he was at the Fulfillment realm. The difference was too big, and he couldn't see anything wrong. Maybe Yi Xian really didn't cheat, and it was just his constitution. "Thank you, teacher. This student will take his leave." Chapter 1194. "Wait, what's your name?" The white-haired old man suddenly called out to Yi Xian. "Yi Xian." After Yi Xian reported his name, he immediately left. Now that he had passed the exam, he had to enter the inner courtyard to investigate Mo Shui. However, just as he was about to leave, the old scholar from Soothing Heart Lake suddenly paid him a visit. "Teacher, this student wishes to see you." The old scholar shouted from outside the palace. "I'm free right now, come in." The white-haired old man's voice came from inside. The old scholar walked in and got straight to the point. "Teacher, I just received a poem, please take a look." The white-haired old man took the paper from the old scholar and read it. "Quiet night thoughts, bright moonlight before the autumn leaves, suspected of frost on the ground, looking up at the bright moon, looking down at home. And not bad, was it written by you?" No, it wasn't written by this student, it was written by a junior brother named Yi Xian. Moreover, this poem has the effect of improving one's state of mind. Just now, when the junior brothers listened to it, the effect was no worse than junior sister Naylan's calm heart song. The old scholar shook his head. What, improve one's state of mind? The white-haired old man felt that it was inconceivable. Currently, there were no more than 10 disciples in the Northern Heavens Academy who could create poems that could improve one's state of mind. How could an outer courtyard student do it? Wait, Yi Xian? At this time, the white-haired old man suddenly thought of something. Wasn't the person who passed the exam called Yi Xian? Teacher, you know him? The old scholar asked in astonishment. Not only do I know him, the person who passed the exam was called Yi Xian. The white-haired old man frowned and asked, "Let me ask you, is the person who wrote this poem Yi Xian's killing intent second only to Mo Shui?" That's right. The old scholar nodded. I never thought that it would really be him. A person with such killing intent could actually write such a poem. Could it be that he wants to walk the path of the slaughtering scholar? The white-haired old man muttered. Slaughtering scholar. Upon hearing this name, the old scholar shuddered violently. The 4 words slaughtering scholar were widely known within the Northern Heavens Academy. He was an anomaly within the Northern Heavens Academy, and at the same time a legend. That was because he was the founder of the Northern Heavens Academy, and also the first dean. It was also because of this that the Northern Heavens Academy's advancement test was conducted according to the recitation of the meditation scripture, and not according to the slaughter aura on one's body. After all, there were still some unusual creatures who could ignore the effects of the tranquil record. At this moment, Yixian had already left the examination palace and arrived at the mountain gate of the Northern Heavens Academy. "Junior brother, why are you here again?" the few old scholars from before said with some surprise. "Senior brothers, I have passed the advancement test. This is the proof." As Yixian spoke, he approached and took out the proof of passing the test. "How is that possible?" The few old scholars looked at each other in disbelief. How long had Yixian been gone? Not even 3 minutes had passed, yet he was able to obtain a certificate for the advancement examination. Could this examination certificate be fake? The few old scholars carefully sized it up, and were even more shocked. This proof of examination is indeed real. "Junior brother, you actually passed?" one of the old scholars said in surprise. "Yes." Yixian nodded. With Emo Shui as a precedent, there shouldn't be any problems for him. At this moment, he was thinking of getting these old scholars to move aside, and let him enter the inner courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy to investigate. The few old scholars looked at each other, and returned the examination certificate to Yixian. "Junior brother, you can go in." Hearing this, Yixian cupped his hands towards the few people, and passed through the mountain gate and went up the mountain. However, to be safe, one of the scholars hurried to the examination palace and asked the examiner. It didn't matter, since Yixian had really passed the examination. "I never thought that Emo Shui would pass the advancement test so quickly and enter the inner courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy," Yixian thought as he ran up the mountain. Just now, he had wasted a few minutes to go to the examination, and in those few minutes, Emo Shui had long disappeared. For convenience, Yixian hurriedly went to the inner courtyard to report, and changed into the inner courtyard scholar's attire. This way, he wouldn't be stopped during the investigation. After seeing the examination certificate for Yixian, the inner courtyard scholar who registered for him was stunned for a long time. Previously, when he registered for Emo Shui, he was also shocked. Now, after seeing Yixian, he was shocked. However, since Yixian had obtained the teacher's approval, he had the qualifications to enter the inner courtyard. Soon Yixian finished his registration and left. Along the way, he attracted a lot of attention, because the old scholars could feel the murderous aura on his body. Yixian could also feel the wary gazes of the people around him. This person, could he be a spy from the moon worship demonic sect or the underworld? Many people thought so in their hearts. The moon worship demonic sect was the Northern Heavens Academy's archenemy. Previously, the Northern Heavens Academy had gone into hiding after eliminating the moon worship demonic sect. Now that the moon worship demonic sect had revived, the Northern Heavens Academy opened up again. Although Yixian had only been in the Northern Heavens Academy for less than a day, with his outstanding perception, he had heard many things. "Anyway, I'm only here to investigate, and my identity is clean. What are you afraid of?" Yixian wasn't worried at all. The Northern Heavens Academy had the best atmosphere amongst all the influences that he had joined. The disciples of the Northern Heavens Academy were all very harmonious, with very few conflicts occurring between them. Under normal circumstances, they would all be cultivating, studying, or interacting. Yixian had joined the Northern Heavens Academy with a purpose, and that was to investigate the brother and sister's case. Previously, he had heard from the frivolous scholar Tang Yuanlong that the Northern Heavens Academy had destroyed the underworld in Zhouhuaqing and captured many people. This was a clue. Of course, there was another clue. The underworld and Emo Shui seemed to be looking for people. Coincidentally, Emo Shui had also infiltrated the Northern Heavens Academy, so Yixian felt that it would be better to ask Emo Shui directly. However, he didn't know where Emo Shui had run off to. At this time, a group of people attracted Yixian's attention. This group of people gathered in front of a stone wall and talked enthusiastically. Originally, this wouldn't have attracted Yixian's attention, but he heard some interesting things. "I never thought that there would be someone with such literary talent in the outer court. Truly unexpected. This silent night thought is indeed amazing. I feel that my state of mind has improved a little. I reckon that if a scholar in the fulfillment realm copied this silent night thought and made it into a heavenly artifact, it might have the effect of exorcism. I wonder which family this Levi was born in. Chapter 1195. A group of old scholars from the inner courtyard were discussing a new poem. However, without exception, all of them were positive comments. The students of the Northern Heavens Academy were all very humble, which made Yixian very surprised. Famous works ranking? When Yixian approached, he discovered that the silent night thoughts that he had revealed before had already been engraved on a stone wall. It was actually ranked 5th. It's actually not 1st? Yixian felt that it was inconceivable. After all, this silent night thoughts was the work of the poetry immortal Li Bai. He only felt that this group of people didn't know what was good for them. Such an awesome poem should at least be ranked 1st. However, he also heard that the top 4 of the famous works ranking had great backgrounds. Any one of the first 3 could easily kill a demonic cultivator below the fulfillment realm. First on the famous works ranking, Kill Word Formula, written by the Slaughtering Scholar. Second on the famous works ranking, Mountain River Treasure Map, drawn by the 4th Dean. Third on the famous works ranking, Devil Suppressing Stone Engraving, carved by the 8th Dean. Fourth on the famous works ranking, Righteous Young Scripture, created by academician Nayland Kuhn. Yixian took a look and discovered that the origins of these authors were not small. The 4th Dean of the Northern Heavens Academy was a painter. His works were majestic and grand. When the original Mountain River Treasure Map appeared, even demonic cultivators in the fulfillment realm could be suppressed. The Mountain River Treasure Map used by the 3 scholars was a copy, but it also had the effect of suppressing demons. The 8th Dean of the Northern Heavens Academy was a sculptor. His devil-suppressing stone engraving also had the effect of suppressing demons. At the same time, many people copied and carved it and used it in battle. As for the Righteous Young Scripture, it was the divine ability cultivated by the frivolous scholar Tang Yuanlong. It was specially used to deal with demonic cultivators. As for that Nayland Kuhn, he was the grandfather of the current dean. As for the Kill Word Formula, it had the greatest origin, because it was created by the 1st Dean of the Northern Heavens Academy, the Slaughtering Scholar. This Kill Word Formula was a painting, and there was only one word on it: kill. However, no one had seen the original. The top 4 looks very powerful, Yixian thought to himself. After listening to Li Bai's explanation, he could understand the ranking. After all, Li Bai was just a normal person, and the top 4 on the author ranking were all fulfillment realm experts. Forget the fulfillment realm, even a void god realm great emperor would be able to reign supreme on earth. The fulfillment realm, on the other hand, was a super expert who could easily destroy all continents. At this time, what Yixian didn't know was that after the appearance of his silent night thoughts, it set off a huge wave among the upper echelons of the inner court. After the upper echelons found out, they had already sent many people to the outer court to look for Yixian. Coincidentally, Yixian entered the inner courtyard from the outer courtyard. Whatever, let's find Mo Shui first. Yixian was too lazy to care so much. He turned around and prepared to leave. But at this moment, a beautiful figure suddenly stopped him. Hey, you're here. A familiar voice entered Yixian's ears. Yixian focused his eyes and found that the person who stopped him was actually the white-clothed woman from the outer court. Senior sister, is something the matter? Yixian asked with a frown. Why were you in such a hurry just now? The white-clothed woman asked curiously. I just joined the Northern Heavens Academy and saw a friend, so I went over to say hello. Yixian said truthfully. Of course, the person he saw just now wasn't a friend but an enemy. So it was like that. Then forget it. The white-clothed woman nodded slightly and said, My young miss wants to see you. Come with me. Your young miss is? Yixian subconsciously asked. This white-clothed woman was an expert at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm, and the person she called young miss definitely had a big background. My young miss is Nayland Bing, the daughter of the dean. She saw that you were brimming with talent, so she wants to see you. What, you're not willing? The white-clothed woman said slowly. The daughter of the dean, Nayland Bing? After hearing this, Yixian was shocked. This background had scared him. Yixian was a little hesitant. This wasn't because he was afraid, but because he had little talent and knowledge. He was a genuine underachiever. What if the other party asked him to compose a few more poems? Forget it. When the time comes, I'll just take it as I heard it. Yixian made a decision in his heart. After all, Quiet Night Thoughts wasn't his work. If he confessed, he would be lenient. If he resisted, he would be strict. Furthermore, Quiet Night Thoughts was beneficial to the Northern Heavens Academy. Therefore, he wouldn't have any problems. "Okay, let's go." Yixian nodded slightly and decided to see Nailin Bing. "Let's go." The white-clothed woman also turned around and left. After they left, the group of old scholars revealed envious expressions. The talented Nailin Bing was the goddess in their hearts. How could Yixian be received by Nailin Bing? However, if they were to find out that the 5th rank song Quiet Night was personally written by Yixian, they would probably be extremely shocked. After leaving, the white-clothed woman brought Yixian to the mountainside. "I'm called by Su, the maid by the mist side. The one who played the zither in the calm heart lake was my miss," the white-clothed woman said as she walked. Yixian had already guessed the identity of the zither player in the lake. This wasn't a big deal to him. He was just curious about how strong Nailin Bing was. Was she at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm? Or was she at the Fulfillment realm? Just when he was deep in thought, Bai Su said, "The killing intent on your body is a little dense. I'm afraid that your mental state hasn't reached the standard. Otherwise, the miss might have given you to the dean and let him accept you as his disciple." "Oh." Yixian nodded and pretended to be a little regretful. The dean's disciple was very tempting. However, he was different from the others. Cultivation depended on devouring, so it didn't matter who his master was. Of course, the benefit of having a master was that he would have a large amount of natural treasures. "Let me remind you that the miss is the dean's daughter. If you dare to have any improper thoughts about her, I'm afraid you won't live to see tomorrow," Bai Su reminded him again. Improper thoughts? Yixian raised an eyebrow in disdain. However, he immediately reacted. If he did, he would definitely be torn apart by the group of old scholars below. However, what he didn't know was that Bai Su didn't mean that. Soon Yixian arrived in front of a pavilion under Bai Su's lead. "Miss, I've brought him," Bai Su shouted from outside the pavilion. "Come in." A clear and pleasant voice came from the 3rd floor of the pavilion. When Yixian heard it, he couldn't help but guess that Nailin Bing was around 20 years old. A 20-year-old at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. She's a genius, Yixian thought to himself. Chapter 1196. However, what surprised Yixian was that there was a person hiding next to the waterfall. Emoshue, why is he here? Yixian was surprised. If he didn't sense carefully, he wouldn't have found Emoshue. With his peripheral vision, he saw a figure through the eye of revelation. Why is this kid here? Emoshue, who was hiding next to the waterfall, thought in shock. At the same time, he could feel that Yixian had found him. I just hope this kid doesn't disturb me, Emoshue thought to himself. At this time, Bai Su saw that Yixian didn't move and said, "Go up quickly. Don't let the miss wait too long. Remember my words." "Oh." Yixian nodded thoughtfully and entered the building. He didn't expect that Emoshue, who he was trying to find, would be hiding here. Emoshue entered the Northern Heavens Academy to investigate. Could it be that Nailin Bing was the person he was looking for? Yixian thought to himself as he walked up the building. Soon he arrived in front of a room. "Junior brother, come in." A woman's voice came from inside. Yixian pushed the door and entered. The room wasn't big, but it was decorated beautifully. This was Nailin Bing's room. At the end of the room, a woman in white sat on the bed. She had a beautiful face and was dignified and elegant. When she saw Yixian come in, she stood up and said, "Junior brother, you really made me wait." "Sorry, senior sister, I saw a friend earlier so I came late." Yixian cupped his hands in shame. "It's okay." Nailin Bing smiled. "When I saw junior brother's Quiet Night Thoughts, I knew junior brother was talented. Where did junior brother come from?" "I was born in a poor family, not worth mentioning," Yixian said slowly. Not to mention the Holy Land, even the size of the Blood Rock continent was not comparable to Earth. So, Nailin Bing nodded slightly and recited Li Bai's silent night thoughts as she walked. "Junior brother's literary talent really makes me feel inferior. Can junior brother compose another poem on the spot?" Nailin Bing asked curiously. "This?" Yixian was stunned. He was afraid of being asked this question. If he was asked to compose another poem on the spot, wouldn't that be asking for his life? Just as he was about to open his mouth, a voice suddenly entered his ears. "Brat, let's work together again. Help me see if this Nalanbing has a birthmark on her left breast." This voice was very familiar to Yixian because it belonged to Mo Shui. What? Yixian was shocked. He knew that Mo Shui had a sound transmission technique, but he didn't expect that Mo Shui would actually seek him out for cooperation. This Mo Shui is indeed here to investigate. Is Nalanbing his target? Yixian thought to himself. Otherwise, why would Mo Shui ask him to see if there was a birthmark on Nalanbing's left breast? Moreover, what the hell was he looking at? He was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, while Nalanbing was at the 8th level. Moreover, there was Bai Su outside who was also at the 8th level. Most importantly, he was in the inner courtyard of the Northern Heavens Academy. If he dared to do so, not to mention the higher-ups of the Northern Heavens Academy, just the group of scholars would be able to kill him. "Brat, as long as you help me confirm, I'll teach you my secret technique," Mo Shui said again. Yixian wanted to refuse, but after hearing this, his eyes couldn't help but light up. Mo Shui's secret technique? Could it be the Peerless Flame Dragon Slash? Damn it, I don't know how to send a sound transmission to Mo Shui. Yixian cursed in his heart. Even if it was a secret technique, he couldn't compromise. After all, he couldn't joke around with his life. He was 2 meters away from Nalanbing. If he launched a sneak attack, he should be able to do it. However, once he did so, he would have to break through the void and leave. What's more, the target of cooperation was Mo Shui. After seeing Yixian's sluggish expression, Nalanbing suddenly smiled. She walked in front of Yixian and said, "Junior brother, are you not inspired? Come, senior sister will give you." After she finished speaking, she began to take off her clothes. Yixian was shocked and hurriedly took a step back. What the hell is going on? "Junior brother, why are you so nervous? Senior sister just felt a little hot." Nalanbing smiled again and directly took off her clothes. Suddenly, a pair of white shoulders entered Yixian's eyes. Damn! Yixian was completely shocked. What was Nalanbing doing? Was she seducing him? Could it be that because his literary talent was too good, and he was handsome, Nalanbing fell in love with him at first sight? No, that's impossible. Yixian immediately dispelled this idea. This was because he saw a trace of craftiness in Nalanbing's smile. He could also use this opportunity to see if Nalanbing was the person Mo Shui was looking for. Immediately, he shifted his gaze downwards. He saw that there was indeed a pink birthmark on Nalanbing's white underwear. This position was just above the left side of her chest. It's really her? Yixian's eyes widened. He didn't expect Nalanbing to be the person Mo Shui was looking for. However, in the next moment his expression changed greatly. This was because he heard the sound of a system notification. Ding! The host is immune to this poison. This system notification came out of nowhere and caught Yixian off guard. Poison! Yixian's body trembled. He quickly scanned the panel and found that he had inhaled a poison called the Bone of Charm. This poison was an aphrodisiac. In an instant, Yixian reacted. He was afraid that he had fallen into a trap. Not good, this is a trap. Let's go. Yixian's expression changed greatly. Junior brother, are you feeling hot too? Come, let me help you. When Nalanbing saw Yixian's expression, she stepped forward and prepared to help Yixian take off his clothes. However, at this moment Yixian suddenly burst out at full speed. He crashed into the wall and broke out of the building. Senior sister, I still have important matters to attend to today. I'll take my leave first. Yixian broke out of the building and rushed out. He cupped his fists at Nalanbing and then quickly left. When Nalanbing saw this, her face turned pale. She hurriedly put on her clothes and cleaned the Bone of Charm poison around her. Miss Bai Su, who was guarding outside, quickly rushed up to the 3rd floor and looked carefully. I'm fine. I was sparring with Junior brother just now and accidentally knocked him out, Nalanbing explained. However, she was puzzled. Why wasn't Yixian poisoned? If Yixian was poisoned, Nalanbing could use an excuse to kill Yixian. This excuse would be that Yixian coveted her beauty and wanted to poison her. Chapter 1197. Yixian's face was gloomy as he left the building. He didn't expect that he would almost be in big trouble. This Nalan Bing actually set a trap for me. She wanted me to be poisoned by the aphrodisiac so that I could violate her. Then, she would be able to kill me naturally? Yixian thought to himself. He was also very scared. If he was one step slower, Nalan Bing would have attacked. At that time, the bone of charm poison in the room would be the evidence, and he would die an unjust death. He just didn't know why Nalan Bing wanted to kill him. Why? Brat, what did you do? Just as Yixian returned to the outer court, Emo Shui's voice rang in his ears. Yixian turned around and found that Emo Shui had followed him. Why did you show me that? Yixian asked. Just tell me, do you have it or not? No matter what the answer is, I will teach you the Peerless Flame Dragon Slash. Emo Shui said coldly. However, even though it was passed down, not everyone could learn his ultimate skill. Give it to me first, then I will tell you. Yixian wasn't stupid enough to tell Emo Shui that Nalan Bing did indeed have a pink birthmark on her chest. Okay, take it. Emo Shui was also very decisive. He directly threw the secret skill of the Peerless Flame Dragon Slash to Yixian. What the heck? Yixian was shocked again. Emo Shui had a strange personality. Before, he wanted to kill him, but now he wanted to cooperate with him. What the heck? Ding. Copy of the Peerless Flame Dragon Slash successful. The system notified. However, it wasn't over yet. Ding, the god art is a growth-type god art. Another system notification sounded. Growth-type god art? Yixian was stunned. He looked at the description and knew that after learning the growth-type god art, he only needed to spend a super devour crystal to increase its level. Even if he was in the fulfillment realm or fragmentation realm, he could use it. Simply put, he could use it for a very long time. Waha! This Emo Shui is going to suffer a huge loss. Does he think that I can't learn this Peerless Fire Dragon Slash? The heavens are helping me. Yixian's heart was already bursting with joy. Emo Shui didn't know that he had it, so he had taken advantage of him. Since Emo Shui had kept his promise, Yixian decided to be a good person and tell him the truth. Alright, she does have the birthmark you mentioned. Yixian nodded. Really? Hearing this, Emo Shui shuddered and said, What is it? Emo Shui was an old monster who had lived for thousands of years. Naturally, he wouldn't trust Yixian so easily. It's like this. Yixian used his fingers to draw a symbol on the ground. It was the birthmark he saw on Nalan Bing's body. After seeing this, Emo Shui's killing intent surged as his eyes widened. As expected, it's this F***er. Emo Shui looked like he was about to eat someone. Originally he wasn't too sure, but now he was sure. This Nalan Bing was the person he was looking for. Emo Shui is really looking for Nalan Bing? Why? Yixian didn't understand. However, he could feel Emo Shui's killing intent. It seemed that Emo Shui wanted to kill Nalan Bing. Nalan Bing wanted to kill him. As long as Emo Shui killed Nalan Bing, the hidden danger would be solved. Humph. Emo Shui snorted and disappeared. Next, he had to plan how to kill Nalan Bing, who was at the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. Yixian felt helpless in his heart as he watched him leave. He also wanted to kill Emo Shui for the revenge mission, but he didn't dare to do it with Emo Shui in front of him. After all, he was in the Northern Heavens Academy. According to the Northern Heavens Academy's rules, if he attacked, he would be killed. At that time, how could he continue his investigation? The underworld and Emo Shui seem to be looking for the same person. Does this mean that the underworld also wants to capture Nalan Bing? Yixian organized his thoughts. His purpose of coming here was to see if this matter was related to the Yin-Yang ancestor. However, Emo Shui left so quickly that he didn't have time to ask. However, he had to be careful because Nalan Bing wanted to kill him for some unknown reason. Moreover, he wanted to do it cleanly. This bitch, she actually poisoned me. If I catch her, I'll definitely strip her naked and hang her outside. Yixian said angrily in his heart. However, at this moment, rumble. Suddenly a loud sound entered his ears. He turned his head and saw a cloud of dust rising to his left. Could it be that someone didn't get along and started a fight? However, in the next moment, another loud sound came from another place. Rumble. 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 Loud sounds rang out one after another. The entire outer court was filled with smoke and screams. What's going on? Yixian was very surprised. He turned his head and saw a burly scholar charging at him. Kid, don't blame me. Die. This tall and sturdy scholar held a long sword in his hand as he struck towards Yixian's head. You want to kill me? You're only at the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. You're not qualified. Yixian didn't dare to be careless. He gripped the Skyquake sword tightly in his hand and stabbed at the intruder. Unparalleled Flame Dragon Slash. He had just learned this move, and it was Mo Xue's ultimate move. Its power was extraordinary. In the blink of an eye, the burly scholar was swallowed by the flame dragon and turned into ashes. Such power. Yixian swallowed. However, in order to use this move, he had used more than half of his true qi. Fortunately, he had the bloodline of the divine tree of life. Otherwise, he could only use it once in a short period of time. After the burly scholar died, Yixian rushed over and took his interspatial ring. Then he found a clue. Oh no, it's a spy from the moon worship demonic sect in the underworld. Someone shouted. The moon worship demonic sect. The underworld. Yixian was naturally familiar with these two forces. So that's how it is. Yixian immediately understood. This time, the Northern Heavens Academy was recruiting students. Naturally, there were many spies who joined. However, what were these spies trying to do? However, this group of spies from the moon worship demonic sect and the underworld was only the vanguard. The real appetizer was yet to come. Ha ha ha. Bookworms of the Northern Heavens Academy. Come out and die. A group of people suddenly rushed over from the horizon. The leader, a middle-aged man, shouted. Immediately after, a person from the outer court flew into the sky. It was the white-haired elder from the examination hall. Moon worship demonic sect, how dare you? The white-haired old man shouted as he took out a treasure map. Then he used the power of all creations to reveal the treasure map. Mountain River treasure map? It's a pity that this treasure map is only a fake. Unless it's the real thing, it has no effect on me. Chapter 1198. This time the moon worship demonic sect had sent quite a few people, and they had even joined forces with the assassins from the underworld. Although they were strong, they couldn't shake the Northern Heavens Academy. However, they weren't here to cause trouble. The outer courtyard was in a mess because everyone was wearing scholars' attire. The only ones who could distinguish them were the students of the Northern Heavens Academy. However, they couldn't tell who were from the moon worship demonic sect and the underworld, and who were the real scholars. However, the people from the moon worship demonic sect cultivated demonic arts. When the white-haired old man's Mountain River treasure map appeared, many of them showed signs of discomfort. Yixian felt it for a moment, then attacked again. This time, the Northern Heavens Academy was in danger, but what did it have to do with him? He could use this opportunity to increase his strength. He was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, and wasn't considered outstanding in the outer courtyard. Therefore, he attracted the attention of many people. Die brat! Another person who didn't care about his life charged at Yixian. Heavenly Thunder Halberd. Yixian threw the Heavenly Thunder Halberd in his hand, and it instantly sank into the assassin's chest, electrocuting him into a charred corpse. Although Yixian was only at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm, he wasn't weak. A mere 6th level of the Nether Passage realm dared to find trouble with him. He was truly courting death. At the same time, he also thought about the underworld and the moon worship demonic sect's actions. Could it be that they wanted to rescue those who were captured by the Northern Heavens Academy? Or could it be that they had other motives? Just as he was thinking, a few figures rushed out of the inner courtyard. These people were the scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy, and all of them were in the fulfillment realm. Moon worship demonic sect, underworld, today you won't return. A battle broke out in the sky, but it was in the fulfillment realm. This time, the moon worship demonic sect and the underworld had sent nearly 10 fulfillment realm experts. However, the Northern Heavens Academy wasn't weak. After all, this was their headquarters. In the blink of an eye, the two sides started to fight. Yixian killed those who were eyeing him covetously, while observing the battle in the sky. The people above him were all fulfillment realm experts. If he could pick up a corpse, he would definitely be able to break through continuously. However, he felt that this mission was not that simple. Mo Xue? At this moment, Yixian suddenly discovered Mo Xue's aura. The latter was rushing towards the inner court. This Emo Shui was also an assassin of the underworld, but this time he was not on the same side as the underworld. Thinking of this, Yixian immediately followed him. Was Emo Shui going to kill Nalan Bing this time? In that case, he might be able to join forces with Nalan Bing to kill Emo Shui, complete the revenge mission, and obtain 3 Devour points as a reward. Tisk tsk, today is the day you die. Yixian snickered as he followed him. Many old scholars came out of the Northern Heavens Academy's inner court. However, Yixian and Emo Shui were wearing the inner court's uniform. In addition to the chaotic situation, their killing intent was concealed, and they didn't attract the attention of others. Soon they entered the inner court. Sure enough, as Yixian expected, after Emo Shui entered the inner court, he headed towards Nalan Bing's building. However, Nalan Bing was the daughter of the Northern Heavens Academy's dean. She would definitely be protected by experts. Sure enough, the moon worship demonic sect and the underworld are creating a diversion. The people in the outer court are just delaying. The real main force is behind the Northern Heavens Academy. Yixian felt waves of powerful auras. They were all experts at the 8th and 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. Similarly, a battle broke out in the inner court. At this moment, Yixian suddenly wanted to give up on chasing Emo Shui. He wanted to increase his cultivation first because he was at the 5th level of the Nether Passage realm like Emo Shui. However, Emo Shui was a reincarnator. If they were at the same level, Yixian did not have the confidence to kill him. However, if he was 1 level higher than Emo Shui, then it would be much better. I'll let you live first. Once I break through to the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm, I'll use your ultimate skill to kill you. Yixian decided to give up and join the battle in the inner court. The scholars in the inner court had always been on guard against Yixian because Yixian's murderous aura was too dense. He might be an assassin from the moon worship demonic sect or the underworld. However, when they saw Yixian attack the people from the moon worship demonic sect, they knew that Yixian was on their side. Peerless Flame Dragon Slash. Yixian wielded the heaven-shaking sword and fiercely slashed out. A flame dragon formed from a mixture of true qi and 10,000 mammoth strength, attacked an 8th level Nether Passage realm expert. This expert was currently fighting with an old scholar. Originally, he did not put Yixian in his eyes. However, with this attack, he knew that Yixian was not to be trifled with. Boom! This moon worship demonic sect expert was hit head-on. However, because the difference in cultivation was too great, Yixian's attack was only able to injure him. Well done, junior brother. The old scholar shouted and used his 10,000 mammoth strength to condense a small sun above his head. The moment this small sun appeared, the moon worship demonic sect expert panicked. Righteous Yang scripture. Scorching sun burns the heavens. No. This moon worship demonic sect expert's body started to emit smoke. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation dropped to the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yixian quickly rushed over and directly pierced the moon worship demonic sect expert's heart. Many thanks, junior brother. After the old scholar shouted, he immediately turned around and went to help the others. The scholars of the Northern Heavens Academy were humble and united. This battle was extremely important, so they saved the time to collect the spoils of war and went to help the others. This way Yixian benefited. Haha! An 8th level Nether Passage realm spatial ring. Yixian was grinning from ear to ear. Although there weren't many things only worth around 500,000 inner demon pills, he could break through to the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm with 1 or 2 more. At this time the smell of blood suddenly came from afar. Yixian turned around and saw that the sky was covered by blood-red words. This is the 10,000-word blood scroll, the 6th level writing scroll. Moreover, it's an authentic one. Yixian recognized it. There were probably fulfillment realm experts fighting over there. Whether it was the Mountain River treasure map, the 10,000-word blood scroll, or the devil-suppressing stone inscription, they were all devil-suppressing weapons. It was because of these that the moon worship demonic sect was completely annihilated several hundred years ago. It took them several hundred years to rise again. I heard that the 1st level writing scrolls kill character art can not only suppress demons, but also ordinary people. Yixian was a little curious. He didn't know who had the kill character art. However, he couldn't care less. This was a good opportunity to quickly increase his strength. He had to break through quickly and then kill Immersing. Chapter 1199. Although the peerless flame dragon slash consumed a lot of energy, Yixian had the bloodline of the divine tree of life, so he could use it again very quickly. Immediately, Yixian stomped on the ground and shot out to help an old scholar nearby. "Senior brother, I'll help you," Yixian shouted as he slashed his sword towards the enemy. Peerless flame dragon slash. Whoosh! The flame dragon whistled towards the enemy. But this time, the enemy was an assassin from the underworld. He was extremely fast and dodged the attack. However, in order to dodge the attack, he was stabbed by the old scholar's sword, causing a large amount of blood to gush out from his abdomen. After that, Yixian approached the old scholar at lightning speed and killed him together with him. This old scholar was the same as the previous one. After killing the enemy, he quickly turned around and left to help the others. As for the spoils of war from the underworld assassin, they belonged to Yixian. Just a little bit more, about 1,000,000 inner demon pills. Yixian thought to himself as he swept his gaze around. In the end, his gaze fell onto a few figures. To his left, there was a 6-person battlefield. 3 old scholars from the Northern Heavens Academy had formed the tripartite sword formation to deal with the enemy. As long as he killed these 3 enemies, Yixian would be able to break through. However, right at this moment, a powerful aura swept over. 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. It's the Jade-Faced Scholar. The Jade-Faced Scholar is here. Haha, the moon worship demonic sect is doomed. Senior brother Nalan, kill them. Following the appearance of this pale-faced scholar, all the scholars boiled up. This Jade-Faced Scholar was at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm. He was the genius in the Northern Heavens Academy, who had the highest chance of breaking through to the Fulfillment Realm and opening Yuan Palace before the age of 25. At the same time, this Jade-Faced Scholar was called Nalan Jia. He was the Dean's son and Nalan Bing's older brother. At this moment, the Jade-Faced Scholar Nalan Jia suddenly took out an object from his spatial ring. It was a carving, but it didn't look like anything. No one knew what it was. However, when Nalan Jia used his 10,000 elephant power to enlarge the carving, the surrounding experts of the demonic path vomited blood. "It's the devil-suppressing stone carving, let's go." The moon worship demonic sect experts clutched their chests and immediately retreated. "Don't let them go, chase them," the Jade-Faced Scholar Nalan Jia shouted. The scholars' morale was high and they immediately chased after the enemy. However, the direction these people fled in was very strange. They were heading towards Nalan Ice's pavilion. "Sister." Nalan Bing uses suppressing stone carving hurriedly. Suddenly Xianzhu quickly followed. Before that, he first realm he. Emperor Sword. He Bing Sword Lord of the Underworld Emperor Sword slashed. Bang. Yes and Insinan Nalan B. Many thanks, junior brother. Let's go. We will follow in the footsteps of senior brother and annihilate the moon worship demonic sect. The 3 scholars were full of fighting spirit. They didn't even look at the universe rings and followed. Although they were older than Nalan Jia had broken through to the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm at the age of 21. He was the number 1 genius of the Northern Heavens Academy. As for the 3 corpses, they were naturally Yixian's. Haha, awesome. Yixian quickly rushed over and took the 3 universe rings. It just so happened that the items in these rings could help him break through. Ding! Host has broken through to the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm. Ding! Wei Zhentian has broken through. Ding! Thunder Pearl has broken through. 3 system notifications rang out in succession. Yixian had broken through to the 6th level of the Nether Passage realm, while Wei Zhentian and the Thunder Pearl had also broken through to the 8th level of the Nether Passage realm. If he were to use his trump card now, he would probably be invincible in the Nether Passage realm. Emoshua, you're still not dead? Yixian's eyes widened as he quickly caught up with the Jade-Faced Scholar. This moment he understood a little. Previously, Emoshua was not looking for 1 person but 2. Since Nalan Bing's identity had been confirmed, then the other person was probably this Jade-Faced Scholar, Nalan Jia. The people the underworld was looking for were Nalan Jia and Nalan Bing. Coincidentally, the moon worship demonic sect and the Northern Heavens Academy had a grudge against each other. However, Yixian still did not know why the underworld was looking for Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing. Could it be that they were also reincarnators? This thought flashed through Yixian's mind, and his eyes shone brightly. Yes, reincarnators. They must be reincarnators. Otherwise, why would Emo Shui be looking for them? Yixian immediately reacted. Emo Shui was also from the Penglai Holy Land. Why would he be so hostile to Nalan Bing, even showing killing intent? There was only one possibility. Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing were both reincarnators. I see. Now Yixian finally understood Emo Shui's purpose. Perhaps Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing were his grudges from his previous life. After the battle, both sides were heavily injured and reincarnated. However, Emo Shui was the first to awaken, while the siblings had not. Therefore, Emo Shui had to get rid of them first. After guessing the sequence of events, Yixian followed the jade-faced scholar and hundreds of old scholars to the waterfall just now. As expected, before Yixian could get close, he felt the aura of a group of experts. There were hundreds of them, at least at the 7th level of the Nether Passage realm. This time, the moon-worship demonic sect and the underworld had put in a lot of effort to capture 2 people. However, reincarnators were at least reincarnation realm experts. So what if they sacrificed Nirvana realm and longevity realm experts? When the jade-faced scholar and others arrived at the back of the mountain, they found that Nalan Bing had been captured, and the person who captured her was a fulfillment realm assassin. Damn it! The jade-faced scholar cursed angrily when he saw his sister being captured alive. Brother! Nalan Bing, who was in the enemy's camp, shouted. The moon-worship demonic sect and the underworld had planned this. One side was responsible for being the vanguard at the foot of the mountain to lure out the experts of the Northern Heavens Academy, while the other side was on the other side to attract more experts. The real goal was this pavilion. Now their goal was already halfway there. The jade-faced scholar Nalan Jie? The leading assassin grabbed Nalan Bing's neck with one hand and looked at Nalan Jie. That's right. Nalan Jie nodded and said, Let my sister go, and I'll give you as many inner demon pills as you want. No, I don't want inner demon pills. The fulfillment realm assassin shook his head. Then what do you want? The jade-faced scholar frowned and asked. He and his sister Nalan Bing were twins. They had been very close since they were young. Now that Nalan Bing was captured, he was so anxious that he was about to explode. Chapter 1200. How about this, you fight with me? If you win, I'll let your sister go. If you lose, you'll have to leave too. The leading assassin said. Me. The jade-faced scholar frowned. He suddenly remembered the recent actions of the underworld. The underworld had been looking for siblings recently, and he fit the criteria. However, he didn't expect that the underworld didn't need so many siblings. They were looking for a pair of siblings instead. This pair of siblings was him and Nalan Bing. However, in order to save Nalan Bing, the jade-faced scholar Nalan Jie could only agree. Okay, I'll fight with you. Nalan Jie nodded. He was at the 9th level of the Nether Passage realm, while the assassin in front of him was at the fulfillment realm. There was a huge gap between the two of them. However, Nalan Jie was the #1 genius of the Northern Heavens Academy. He might be able to challenge someone of a higher level. Senior brother, you have to win. No, you have to win. The underworld's assassins are so despicable. Why didn't they send a Nether Passage realm cultivator to fight with senior brother? That's right, too despicable. A group of scholars were shouting and yelling. However, the opponent was an assassin who would do anything to achieve his goal. What did it matter if he was called despicable? Kid, you have guts. The fulfillment realm assassin let out a cold laugh and dashed forward for a while. The jade-faced scholar put away the devil-suppressing stone engraving and walked out. The devil-suppressing stone engraving was very effective against the moon-worship demonic sect. However, it wasn't necessarily effective against assassins. This was because assassins didn't necessarily cultivate demonic arts. Obviously, this assassin came prepared. He didn't cultivate demonic arts. Therefore, this battle was unfair. At this time, Yixian, who was watching from below, was using the Eye of Revelation to secretly size up the situation. He found that Emo Shui wasn't there. Aren't Nalan Jie and Nalan Bing Emo Shui's enemies? Emo Shui came earlier than me. Where did he go? Yixian was very puzzled because he didn't find Emo Shui's corpse on the ground. There was only a white-clothed woman's corpse on the ground. It was Nalan Bing's mate Bai Su. As for Mo Shui, there wasn't even a shadow. Maybe before Mo Shui arrived, the people from the underworld had already arrived, so he hid again. Yi Xian thought to himself. At this time, he suddenly noticed that the captured Nalan Bing had been chained up and taken away by a 9th-level Nether Passage Realm expert. "What are you doing?" The jade-faced scholar was startled. He hastily shouted, "Brat, you have to get past me first before you have the qualifications to chase after them." The Fulfillment Realm expert took off his mask and revealed a scarred face. "Since that's the case, I'll kill you first." The jade-faced scholar Nalan Jia didn't say a word and directly rushed over with his long sword. The scarred assassin also clenched his long sword and rushed forward. There was a fundamental difference between the Nether Passage Realm and the Fulfillment Realm. When a cultivator broke through from the Nether Passage Realm to the Fulfillment Realm, they would open up a natal palace in a certain part of their body. This Yuan palace could be used to store true qi, and then condense it into natal true qi. This natal true qi was much stronger than true qi. A first-level Fulfillment Realm expert could open up one natal palace, a second-level Fulfillment Realm expert could open up 2 natal palaces, and so on. A 9th-level Fulfillment Realm expert could open up 9 natal palaces. Natal palaces could not only increase the strength of one's soul and physique, they could also be used to condense natal true qi. This was why not just anyone could challenge someone of a higher realm. The jade-faced scholar, Nalan Jia, was powerful, but his opponent was also a seasoned assassin. Nalan Jia was already at a disadvantage in the first exchange. However, this was already very good. After all, a normal 9th-level Nether Passage Realm expert would have been instantly killed by the scarred assassin. The jade-faced scholar is strong as expected. However, my goal today is not to kill you. The scarred assassin's eyes flashed as his aura suddenly increased. 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm. What? The jade-faced scholar Nalan Jia was shocked. His opponent was hiding his cultivation. This was over. Even if his opponent was only at the 1st level of the Fulfillment Realm, he would have a hard time defeating him. Now that his opponent was at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm, he was doomed. "Come here, brat." The scarred assassin instantly burst forward and rushed to the side of the jade-faced scholar. Then, he formed a claw with one hand and grabbed the scholar's neck. Ugh! The jade-faced scholar was captured in an instant. Eldest senior brother. Quick, go find the dean. Eldest senior brother has been captured. The dean is on the other side. He's been pinned down. The group of scholars panicked. The talented girl in their hearts had been captured, and now even their eldest senior brother had been captured. This was troublesome. The scarred assassin was at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm. Even if all of them attacked together, they might not be able to do anything to him. Unless the scarred assassin was replaced by an expert from the moon worship demonic sect, they might be able to win. At this time, Nalan Bing had already been taken away by someone. Now that Nalan Jia had been captured by the scarred assassin, the underworld's mission could be considered complete. Let's go. The scarred assassin let out a low shout, and everyone quickly retreated. However, at this time a figure suddenly appeared from the horizon. Let him go. A deep voice rang out. Then, a man in a green robe flew over. The dean is here. Haha. These underworld assassins are dead meat. How can the remnants of the moon worship demonic sect beat us? They will definitely suffer heavy casualties. Following the arrival of the man in blue robes, the fighting spirit of the scholar's sword. This man in blue robes was the current dean of the Northern Heavens Academy, Nalan Hao. He was at the 2nd level of the Fulfillment Realm. Let him go. After Nalan Hao arrived, his gaze fell on Nalan Jia. At the same time, he let out a low shout. TSK, that won't do. The scarred assassin cracked a smile. He put a shackle on Nalan Jia and threw him to the others. He said in a low voice, "Take him and leave first." Yes. The other hidden Fulfillment Realm assassin took Nalan Jia and left the area. Father, sister has been taken away first. Nalan Jia couldn't use his true energy at this time, so he could only shout, "Stay here." Nalan Hao was furious and immediately attacked. It's not that easy. The scarred assassin let out a low shout and went up to meet him. In an instant, the two great experts of the second level of the fulfillment realm began to fight. The group of scholars below were also restless. They wanted to directly charge over and kill everyone from the Underworld Palace and the moon-worship demonic sect. However, there were still one or two fulfillment realm experts. If they